You know.
Yeah.
Want to keep an eye on Mike, he's just a little under the weather, so. Drops off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vanessa should be here. And what about my sticks?
I think you can take action on it, it's boring. Yeah.
And who was Olivia? Vanessa and Olivia. Vanessa told me she was gonna be in a little after that.
That's
That's
what they.
Except you. If you got.
Can't be close for.
That's one more. I'll keep an eye on Mike.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, keep Mike alive.
All right. Well. Welcome, everyone. It is 5:34. I think we're at forum. Say, Madam Clerk, that's not right. But can we have a roll call, please?
Sure thing. Bill Shred,
Here.
Mike Ginsburg.
I'm here, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Barely. Kristen Montana. Here. Donna Keats is absent at this time. Nick Oliver,
Here.
Brett Jenkins,
Here.
Danielle Dolan. Here. Patrick Higgins. Absent. Donna is here. Vanessa and Olivia are both absent at this time. Councilman Dewar. Here. I'm staff liaison Kelly Shine, this is Jamie Lawrence, Council Operations Intern. With that, we have a forum of the Ward 2 Neighborhood Advisory Board.
Very good. Thank you very much, Michelle. Appreciate it. Move on to A2, public comment. Do we have any registered public comments?
Comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters on and off the NAB's agenda. The NAB may not take action upon any matter not agendized on today's agenda. If you're called on to public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The term will begin when you state your name and you'll be recorded 3 minutes. If you're attending the Zoom meeting and would like to make public comment, please raise your hand at this time. We'll start in person with Summer Pellet. Good spot.
Hi, and thank you for having me. I'm Summer Pellet, and I am running for City Council for Ward 2. So I just want to take this opportunity to introduce myself to the Neighborhood Advisory Board. I know I've been coming to these meetings for a while, but I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about myself. So I graduated from UNR. I have a bachelor's, master's of political science, and was an intern at the state legislature while I was in college. I went on to become a city planner for the city of Sparks, and then a planning commissioner for Story County. So I come from a background in land use planning and development, which is experience that I think would serve us well on the city council, and trying to make good land use decisions and trying to keep the quality of life that we have for existing residents. My husband and I are also second generation owners of our family's union general contracting company. So I run a large budget every year. I know what it's like to manage employees. And I also, like I said, we're a union company, so I'm very familiar with union contracts and things of that nature. So also good budget experience that I think would serve us well on the city council. I'm really looking at trying to make sure that we're prioritizing our budget at the city council, making sure that we're trying to keep Reno affordable. And I also am a big supporter of public safety. I think that public safety serves as the firm foundation for a city to grow on, and it's what allows investment into our city. So those are kind of some of the major things that I want to focus on as a city councilwoman. And I do think that bringing that experience to the city council of my company and run a large budget would really serve us well.
Talking about the kind of shade that comes from you. So
With that, I do not have any additional public comment registered.
Okay, do we have anybody on Zoom?
Very nice.
Thank you very much. On the A3 approval of the agenda, I would like folks to know to change the order a little bit. We're going to put C1 after A5. So let our law enforcement partners go out and do their job. So, but with that, can I have a motion for approval of the agenda, please?
Donna Keats, I've moved to approve the agenda with the changes outlined by the chair.
Thank you.
Kristen Montana, for the record, I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes. Thank you. And approval of the minutes, A4. Cool. I have to be honest, I didn't look at them this week. Cool. Sure.
So on.
I'm always the one. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes last?
Bonnie Keats, I move to approve the minutes for the July 21st, 2026 meeting.
Get a second, please.
Brett Jenkins, I abstain as I was not here last meeting.
So just so you know, I don't think there's such a thing as abstaining,
Oh, good.
just letting you know, but do you have a ruling on that, Tyler?
You don't need to abstain if you weren't here.
Great.
I can't second because I wrote them, right?
Yeah, you can vote on it.
But I can't move.
Yes, you can.
I can't?
Yeah, you can. Good job.
I did a good job. I seconded it. I second that motion.
Okay. All right. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. And on to A5, Councilwoman Dewar, please.
Hi, everyone. For those who don't know, I'm Councilwoman Naomi Dewar. And at this part of the meeting, I usually give an update on something, some hot topics that are coming before council, some things we've been talking about. So I'll sort of start in reverse order. I just left a meeting, 2-hour meeting, to finalize our tree ordinance that we're planning to bring to city council. I believe it is the first meeting in September. It's been an initiative of mine for over a decade. And we started a program called Relief Reno to double the trees in Reno. We added a lot of aspects to that. We set up a fund for contributions. We set up tree planting events that we've done for a decade. We have been giving away discounted trees, so people can come and get a tree from Reno. Finally, we're at the point where updating our ordinances. The tree ordinances were last updated in the 90s. And I'm going to tell you about the most controversial one, just to give you a little flavor. We've divided the ordinance in two. And so the first part is about publicly owned trees. Those are trees that are owned by City of Reno, trees in your city parks, trees on public right of way. And there's trees in front of people's homes and businesses that are public trees. But a lot of people think they belong to them. Or they know they're public trees, but they don't know what that means. And then the other half of the ordinance is about when we have developments come in, what are they supposed to do in terms of trees? So right now we're focused on the publicly owned trees, the trees we own, and that we want to take care of the roles and responsibilities of the urban forester. And are those changing? And so I said, I'm going to tell you the most controversial one. We've had a series of public workshops. And for decades, the city's had a policy that if you have a city-owned tree in front of your house, it's your job to water it. How many people knew that before I just said that? One person. Nobody had ever heard of it? No? Okay. So because of that, we wanted to make it explicit. So it has been a city policy forever. So you don't see city irrigation systems going out front of people's houses. We couldn't possibly think how big the city is. Okay. So the expectation is that you'll take care of the tree in front of your house or your business. So we put that inside the ordinance, like, let's make it explicit. And so there was some pushback. Well, what do you mean we have to take care of the tree in front of our house? Well, all we mean is water it, right? City will take care of pruning it. If the city's buckling a sidewalk, they'll take care of that. If the city tree falls down, they'll take care of that. But they can't be at your house watering the tree. And then some people said, well, that's not fair. Well, there's two aspects to that. And one is that we are the fastest warming city in America, and not by just a little, by a lot. So where the rest of America, the average increase in temperature over the last 50 years, going back to the 70s, is 3 degrees. In Reno, Nevada, it's 8 degrees. And we're even bigger warming than Las Vegas by quite a bit. Now, that's bad enough. But in the summer, where we are now, the summer days, the warming is actually 11 degrees. Okay, not 3, not 8, but 11. And it gets worse. In summer nights, in the last 50 years, so I came here in the 70s, and it used to be 45 degrees at night. You'd have to actually wear a sweater and going out to the snow. Now, anyone know about what it is?
Getting up about 66.
65, 66. Okay, that's almost what experience tells us is a 20-degree increase. The actual number is 18. So in summer nights, in that same time period, it's gone up 18 degrees. Trees are the fastest, cheapest way that we have to battle back. They suck up the carbon, which is one of the things in the air that makes us warming. And they put out oxygen so that we can actually breathe. They cool the air all around the tree because they're transpiring, giving off water vapor, and they're shading us from the sun's radiation. They're at least 10 degrees cooler under a tree. They did a study downtown Reno, and they found out that right near the arch, sidewalk 2 blocks north was 35 degrees hotter than the air temp. And under the tree, it was 35 degrees cooler. So it's incredible measurable difference. And 2 years ago, I participated in a study that was done by DRI, Desert Research Institute. They had volunteers, about 100 of us, drive all over Reno, Sparks, the county, measuring the temperatures in the morning, the afternoon, and the night. And they published a report recently and showed all the maps. And the maps show that downtown Reno, downtown Sparks, and actually north of downtown Sparks are the hottest places in our region. And down, let's say by Minogue High School, some of the coolest. Okay, they have the most trees. So we're gonna do the tree ordinance, and I mentioned this controversial aspect that we're putting into words, that you gotta take care of the tree in front of your house, because you're gonna get the benefits of that tree. But our parks director today said, I think, an important idea when you're thinking about this, like, is that fair? Well, right now, for decades in our ordinance, there's a sidewalk in front of your house, if there is. And one of the city rules is that you have to sweep the sidewalk, clear the sidewalk of snow, and keep it full of, rid of debris. You can't like let leaves pile up and so on. That's your responsibility, even though it belongs to the city. We're not out there clearing all the sidewalks of all the snow. Okay, it's just a good example of where we already have people taking care of city infrastructure that benefits them, but at their expense, right? Sometimes they have to hire somebody, and people have been cited for not clearing their sidewalk and not keeping it free of debris. So I think it's a good analogy to what we're talking about here with the trees. The other thing I wanted to mention is some hot topics. In addition to that, which I hope isn't a hot topic, but hopefully we get through. I think most of you know that I'm in my final 3 months on city council. And we will have an election. We have one candidate here tonight, and there's another one. But somebody will be elected and take my spot. And today somehow it really hit me. It's very bittersweet, right? I've been up since, take note, since 3 a.m. this morning. I wrote an email at 3 a.m. I wrote another one at 4, another one at 6, and I took my first phone calls at 7:20. And I've been at a meeting all day since. Every minute of the day, I did take a lunch break. And tonight, right? So it's a very long day. And so will I miss the very long days? No, but the topics I was working on, I think, are very important for the people. And every day, since I said I would just mention some hot topics, since we do have the RPD here today. 2 hot topics that are coming into my office every day are data centers. Okay. The Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Agency just did a public workshop over at the Reno Public Market. There was over 100 people there. I was there, a couple other council members and county commissioners were there. Very strong feelings. They did a survey, and about 95% of the people, and now they have 8,000 comments. When they started, they had 150 comments. Okay, a few weeks ago. Since then, they have 8,000 comments and people have filled out the survey. 95% of the people did not want data centers in our community. Now, we put a moratorium on data centers for a year till next August, so that we could put together some good rules and regulations, rules of the road. How much water, how much noise, how much air pollution, how much generators, who's paying for the power? Is it us as ratepayers? Is it the data centers themselves? This is not a thing about if data centers are good, bad, or different. People do have strong opinions about that, especially as it relates to AI. But we're more focused on the land use implications of the data center and the impacts and how do we mitigate those impacts. So we have put on a year-long moratorium, and the reason we just had Pete Buttigieg in our community this last weekend. I got to meet with him, and I brought it up to him. I said, you know, we're the first town in Nevada that's chosen to implement a moratorium, and he said, to what effect? And I said, well, because we want to make sure we get it right. We've already permitted 3 of the larger size data centers. And we realized we barely know anything about them or how to mitigate them. Should there be a buffer between where people live and where a data center is, et cetera. So that's been a really hot topic. We put it to August because the legislature will end in June. And in case they implement new regulations, we want to be able to update our regulations and call off the moratorium. We may be able to do it sooner, but that was just, at least we put it in for a year. The other issue, and that's why I said I'm glad RPD is here, is every single day I get letters about flock cameras. So it's about the automated license plate readers, ALPRs, and also other cameras and what their role is in our community. So a lot of communities are turning off their flock cameras. And when I say a lot, I don't have a number for that. We've had some that are damaged recently. I think 1 in Reno and 6 at the county. The question is, was it wind or was it vandalism? We don't know. But I did get just so you know what it's like to be a council member sometimes. I got a email this morning, one of those early ones. And let me just pull it up. And what it says is, pull it up here. Got a lot of emails today. Okay. Okay, here's what it says. Hello, Naomi Dewar. I'm so-and-so with Civic Engagement Team at change.org. This was at 4 o'clock this morning. A petition titled Open the Gates. Oh, this one is different. This is about Reno's River Walk, Restore Bike Route and Stop Trail Discussion Trail. This is all about that. There's a building downtown, AT&T, and they have blocked off a section of the river walk. And they say people can't go there, and they claim that they've done it because of homeless people camping, people loitering under this section of trail. And it says it's currently signed by 118 of my constituents. It lists my office as a decision maker. We'd love to help you get your message directly to them. And they want me to respond to this 118 people and say what I think. On this one, I actually do have a pretty strong opinion. And I called our attorneys today, as a matter of fact, to tell them what I think we should do. I don't want to, get too far over my skis, but I will tell you it involves something called a prescriptive easement. A prescriptive easement, I'm a member of the Lake Ditch Board. And basically, when you have been using something for many years, with or without permission, there's a presumption that you can keep using it. And it applies to the wagon trails that come across Nevada. It can apply to something like this, where since the 70s, we, the city of Reno, built this section of Riverwalk. There's no formal easement, but the question is, there's a presumption that people can use it and to suddenly close it off. So that's going to involve probably a lawsuit if the city council decides to go in that direction. Or what they've just done right now is they've built a path around it, around the closed gate. So you can still go around, but you can't go on the river. So these are the kind of issues that we get involved in. On the flock cameras, I've got probably hundreds of letters asking us to stop using that because it invades people's privacy is their perspective. And a lot of people feel this way. Some people tell me, well, they're writing, but that's just a minority of how people feel. I'm not a good judge of that. Okay, but I know I've asked when we did vote to buy these cameras, and I was part of that vote. But at the same time, with a caveat, I asked the manager and the police chief to bring back a policy about who can access them, how are they protecting the data from possible hacking and storage, and how well are the cameras being used for law enforcement. And so I just met with the police chief yesterday. I asked him the same questions. Could you give us some examples where the cameras were involved in solving a crime or helping deter a crime or et cetera? Sometimes it's hard to prove a negative, right? Something didn't happen. How do you prove something helped you, right? That's hard to do. And on the other hand, but he has some cases where he feels that the cameras were key to solving a crime. So that I've asked our manager, when is that conversation coming up? And she said in this next couple months, presumably before I go off council, but not 100%. But anyway, that's just a sign of a coming attraction, things that we're working on. And so I think that's a good update for today, just some examples, something very much on the ground, a tree. Something big, hairy and scary, a data center, and something that's really very futuristic oriented, cameras and privacy. So anyway, any questions for me? There's a lot more to talk about, but I know we got a lot of our agenda too. So.
I got a really
Yeah.
quick one, Chris
Yeah.
Montana for the record. I was driving east on Plum today around Sharon in that general area. And I thought of you because I saw a sign, I was gonna ask you about it. It said a big sign on a telephone pole next to trees that looked to be like you're talking about, the front of houses. And it said, no lopping and some other stuff, but I couldn't see the whole thing because I was driving. But is that something that's part of the tree ordinance now? Okay.
We do have something that's no topping. So if you top a tree, it's just a long way around to kill a tree. So,
That's what it said, no topping. Yeah,
oh, it said no topping.
no top, yeah.
Well,
It was kind of it was probably like this size, but it had color on it, so it got my attention.
that'd be more like a resident putting out a sign saying, drive slow, your children live here.
Okay.
You see those as sort of a citizen activist kind of move, but topping a tree is a very direct way of killing a tree.
Yeah.
I had a neighbor do it to me. Okay. He didn't like one of my trees. I have not sued him. I don't plan to. Eventually we'll cut down the tree. It is now fully dead. I've lived there 17 years. The tree was living till he started chopping on it. It's right on the boundary of our property. So, that's the kind of thing that we all have with neighbors, right? He didn't like my tree. Why didn't he like my tree? It's an elm tree, okay? Are all elm trees bad? No. I always point to the quad at UNR. All those trees around the quad are elm trees. Like if we hated elm trees, we wouldn't have a very shady quad with very tall trees, a very cool space, right? So I don't have to agree with them that elm trees are bad. But anyway, topping trees is not good, but we haven't as of yet put it in our ordinance, but I do have to check on that.
We have it really official.
We have a meeting of the Urban Forestry Commission tomorrow night, like this one, where they're gonna decide what goes in and what stays out of the ordinance. So I will bring up the topic issue. Okay. If it was up to me, that would be in the ordinance.
Oh, yeah, and that's what I thought, because it was, I know they've been working on a bunch of stuff, and I'd never seen that sign before.
Yeah, interesting. Anyone, you had something?
Oh, yeah, Nick Oliver for the record. I just wanted to comment on the Riverwalk portion. I totally agree with your comments about looking into prescriptive easements, particularly given that, it's been used by people for a very long time.
54 years.
Yeah, cities can obtain prescriptive easements, it is totally legal, and also, even if that doesn't work out for some reason, obviously the city can condemn an easement and actually take that property for public use.
Our attorneys brought that up to me.
Yeah.
So they said that they're gonna let the council know about all the options. For the moment, they've put a bikeway around it, a walkway around it, but yeah. Thank you. And are you an attorney?
I am.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Anyone else? Yes.
Bill Shrimp, the question I had is, so there's two parts of the tree ordinance, focusing on the city on side of it.
Yeah.
Does that mean the private side of it is
Yep.
for another day?
It's for another day. I have asked that it start before I leave. I doubt that'll happen. People will be so like, oh my gosh, we've been working on this so long, we need a break. But I think it's incredibly important, and let me give you one example right here in Ward 2. We have the Lake Bridge project, right? On McCarran and Lakeside and Loomis. And those trees on McCarran those tall trees on McCarran have been part of our landscape for a long time. And I called in a report about 2 weeks ago to tell them the trees are dying. That is because the construction company is constructing and they're not using a water truck to keep the trees alive, which is something that they should do. They're required to keep a certain amount of trees on site. That's an example of how the section on private trees and development would be more explicit about what they need to do and what the penalties would be for not doing it.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna give you one anecdote about how did Relief Reno start? Well, Relief Reno started because when I was a young council member 12 years ago, I got a call about, if you know where the Whole Foods is on Neal Road and Kitsky, Neal, the roundabout. There's a mall there where you have Kinko's and Taco Bell and now Panera Bread. People know.
CompUSA.
What is it?
CompUSA.
CompUSA. and the animal emergency surgery. Well, one day, so that parking lot was full of 79 40-year-old trees. And one day, all of the trees were cut down, all 79. And I went out there with our staff and said, all these people called me, right? I wasn't the tree lady then, right? But everybody called me because it was in Ward 2. And I'm like, what is going on here? And I'm a big tree advocate. Anybody knows me anyway. So we go out there and I talk to our code enforcement. What can we do? And these trees were required to be permitted and planted in the 80s in the permit to build that mall. And a young guy from Lake Tahoe came down, bought the mall and cut down all the trees so everybody could see their signs. And he called it conservation. And I told him later that if you wanted to do conservation, you would have taken out this grass, which needs water every single day, not these 40-year-old trees that barely needed any water to survive, that shaded the parking lot. And it turned out when we dug into it, that it was required to have 117 trees on this property. And over the years, the 40 years, they've lost 40 trees with nobody really noticing. But you cut down almost 80 trees in one day, people are gonna notice. So I said, what is the penalty? And our staff said, the penalty is $100. $100. And we estimated, we did an appraisal on those trees. The trees were worth over $250,000. Okay. And so we didn't have good laws. We didn't have good penalties. We had nothing really to regulate this by. And so that day, when I realized this whole scope of this thing and how much development we had in our town and how many trees were being cut down, that's when Relief Reno started. So here we are 12 years later. We are about to have updated ordinance. We will see. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Well, I'm going to call it and we'll move on. Say.
Thank you very much for that
Yeah.
update. And we'll move on to C1. What do we update from Reno Police Department? We want to say thank you guys for being here. I'm glad that this is going again, something you used to do with apps, but still back.
Absolutely. For the record, my name is Sean Garlock. Give you a little bit of history for me. I was hired by the Reno Police Department back in 1995, or like my kids like to say it, 1995. I retired in 2024. Actually enjoyed retirement, and this opportunity came up to come back to basically the department, the agency that I grew up in as an adult, and help carry the agency forward. Chief Solferino sends his apologies for not being able to be here tonight. He had to fly out of town yesterday and he'd be gone for the rest of the week. But I'm rest assured you will most likely see him in the future.
He said he's coming to the next meeting because he wants to meet everyone anyway.
So I wanted to go over the chief's update. We do have a slide here. To go over a couple points that the chief wanted to emphasize with everybody as we go through the different wards and kind of discuss where we're at and where we're going. You look at the first column, rebuilding internal trust and communication. Really that has to do with constant communication with our folks internally, as well as being visible to our employees. Both the chief and I, when we first came into the station, decided to start meeting with employees one-on-one to kind of give really the landscape and the scope, where the department was at, what are the needs, what are the positives within the agency, what are things that need to be addressed. And so we probably spent the better part of the first, I don't know, maybe 8 weeks or so, just getting input from our various employees, both on the sworn side of the house as well as our professional side of the house. And we wanted to just be available for our folks, wandering the hallways, asking people for their input, for ideas, not just for the department itself, but also what could we be doing better for our community. Because I will tell you, there are a lot over the course of my career, most of our greatest ideas came from our line level, came from the folks that are out on the street every day interacting with our community, seeing the problems firsthand and coming up with solutions and ideas that improve our service, that improve our ability to do our job. And so we wanted to recapture that and maintain that kind of visibility, that kind of communication with our folks. Along with that, structured engagement with our associations, our bargaining groups. I will tell you that we have a very good relationship with both associations, and when you really get to the heart of it, in any organization that has to deal with associations or other groups, I think what you'll find, what I have found, is that we all have common ground. We all want to do our job. We all want the best for our employees. We all want the best for our community. And so understanding that that is the same goal and same viewpoint that we all share, the associations as well as the administration and the department, that there's very few differences that we cannot overcome. I mean, realistically. And so we have a very good relationship with both our associations, and we're forging a path forward to improve what we do and how we do it. Looking at strengthening staffing, officer wellness and retention. Obviously, that's a very big topic for us, not just in the law enforcement community, but also within the Reno Police Department. As I'm sure you're aware, we've had our fair share of experiencing tragedy over the last year. In fact, we're getting ready to honor our to Officer Lance Tyndall on the 29th. We're going to have his funeral service up at the church of Pyramid. And so that really, I think that really cuts to the core of our folks. When you look at it, and an individual like him, who was in shape and was vibrant, and a very good officer at that, to have his life ended so abruptly, I think really impacted our folks. And so the chief and I have really taken stock in our wellness program as well as our retention program to say, what could we be doing better? For those that know anything about law enforcement, know that the tragedies that our officers have to confront and face on a day-to-day basis, on any human, that takes a toll. And we would not be doing our job if we didn't recognize that and try to develop programs and reach out for resources to help our folks really to sustain this job for the period of time that they have to do this job now, which also obviously affects our retention, how well we're able to retain those folks that have put in the years and have the wisdom and the experience and do a great job that would otherwise, just kind of be at their wits' end and go look for something else to do. So retaining our officers, retaining our best officers, and also having resources available for the officers and what they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Kind of to answer maybe one of your questions, and again, another example of what our officers have to deal with. As I'm sure you all saw in the news, we had a hit and run accident involving a 5-year-old last night. Yeah. Very tragic. Our officers had to respond to that, and once they were done with that case, they had to move on to the next call, the next accident. And this builds up over time. I don't care how strong you are, it builds up, and you have to have some kind of release, some kind of resource to deal with that. As a side story for the AOPR, and I won't talk too much on it because I don't want to steal the chief's thunder, but it was cameras that helped us identify the driver and the car that we would otherwise, I couldn't tell you what our odds would have been, because I think we had a couple witnesses on scene that gave different descriptions of vehicles. It ultimately was a camera that helped us identify the car and identify the driver. We're working towards case resolution on.
Great. Great to know.
When you look at clean and safe and the park rangers, so obviously in dealing with our unhoused population downtown and dealing with keeping our parks clean, the city has several programs. We have clean and safe, we have the park rangers out there, and then we have the police department and our core team that goes out there and helps out too. I think really what we decided to do is sit down at the table and say, okay, we have all these resources out there. Are we being, as a city as a whole, are we being the most efficient, the most effective in the expenditure of those resources? Or is there an area of space for process improvement, for more collaboration, working together towards the same goal, and maybe some more efficiency? I'm kind of an efficiency guy. I'll look at a system, I'll look at a process and say, how can we do it better? Whether it be with fewer resources or shorter period of time or increased results. And so I think our talks with the city and realizing that we have these 3 entities they somewhat have the same mission, but they could be working better together to be more effective and more efficient and more, say congruent, but the continuity of our operations, I think, could be improved upon. And I think that's one thing that we're looking at as far as bringing all those resources together.
Maybe the consistency of how they do their work, you know,
Yes,
across.
I think there are things that each of us can do well. There are things that each of us need from each other to be better. And I think this is a way of just kind of combining forces.
Yeah.
To be more effective. And then our current academy, we currently have an academy underway. It started in July. We started out with 11 recruits. We're down to 10. One didn't meet some certain testing points and standards. And so that is one thing that we're not going to do. We're not going to compromise our standards, even though we could use the bodies. I think I've learned over the course of my career that maintaining our standards and having quality rather than quantity is where you want to be at, especially in our line of work. So we're still getting out there recruiting, looking for ways to bring in the best and brightest to become Reno police officers and serve our community. Give you kind of a little bit of trivia for you. When I got hired in 1995, we had 324 sworn police officers. My academy of 12 made us 324 police officers. Back then, for those who lived here back then, the edge of town, at least south, didn't really go far beyond McCarran, if you all remember. It was all pasture land, Devani pasture land. Today, we're sitting at 355 police officers. And as you well know, probably grown just a little bit since then. Wow. And so I can sit here and bore you with all the different things, mitigating tools and things that we have done over the years. I can tell you back in my day when we had pay phones and we had barking dogs, that accounted for a lot of calls, 911 hangouts from pay phones and stuff. So technology has also helped us advance in focusing where we need to focus and not chase barking dog calls or kids dialing 911 from a pay phone and running off.
But I will tell you, one of my first experiences covering Devani Ranch was a reporter calling me at 11 p.m. about a barking dog. And it was my introduction to learn that there was actually an MOU between the sheriff and the city, that since we had consolidated animal services, sheriff was gonna take care of barking dogs.
Absolutely.
So I was about it that day, very early on.
But anyway, we currently also have 22 or actually 21 officers who graduated the academy in June. They're out on the street doing a 16-week street training that they have to pass in order to become fully fledged solo police officers. We'll get to see them at the end of their training, 2 or 3 of October, I believe. So that's 22. We have 10 in the academy. That's 32. That accounts for last year's attrition. This year, we're probably gonna have close to 40 between retirements, people not making the academy, people not making training, and people deciding that law enforcement is no longer for them, so they move on. We're looking between 30 and 40, losing them this year. The 32 that will be out on their own here shortly, we're accounting for last year's losses. So we're constantly playing catch up, which is why we look at technology, we look at our systems, we look at efficiencies to see how we can do better in spite of the shortfalls that we have in manpower out on the street.
Just to compliment on that, Lieutenant Tom Turbity, I was up in training for about 3 years. Recently went back out into the street, and now I just got selected this week to go to our traffic division. It takes approximately 18 months to get somebody up and running as a full-fledged police officer on their own. But when we started, the academy was a lot shorter. It is up to about 23, 24 weeks now, just in the original academy. They have a short patrol academy to begin with, and we cover just some agency specific, because there's all agencies up at the training academy up near Park Boulevard. After that, it's the 16 weeks out on the street. And then they have a year really on their own to still try and get their feet underneath them. I've been doing this for over 2 decades and I am still learning. And that is a very good thing, because laws are always changing, but it really takes 18 to 24 months to get one person up and running.
Take some time. Moving on, improving communication with the community. We talked about the Chiefs Advisory Panel, the Community Impact Panel, and the Neighborhood Advisory Boards. This is our way of really kind of being able to get out and talk with our community. I think if there was one thing that I would look back on my career and say we could have improved upon as a police agency, I think it is education and communication with the community, with the public. I think there are a lot of things we used to do. We used to have a Citizens Academy where people could sign up and do a very abbreviated version of what our police officers go through in the academy. You get to drive really fast on the track, go shoot a gun, have discussions on laws and scenarios and stuff. And I think that was good because it gave a lot of people kind of that insight that you really don't get unless you go on a ride along or unless you actually do the job. And then you start to understand, oh, why are they doing it this way? Or why do they have to do this? Why are certain things that we do that really aren't readily apparent? So I think we need to do a better job at educating the public on why we do certain things, how we do certain things, and have that open communication. And I think it starts with these panels and with the neighborhood advisory boards and getting out and talking to the public. And, answering questions and educating.
Well, and I'm gonna just say that, for years, the Reno Police Department come and visit with an app, discussed primarily crime statistics, how things were last quarter to this quarter, last year to this year, those kind of things. And then, I don't know, can you guys remember last time, over a year, it's been over a year. Since they stopped doing it. So I met with the chief yesterday and I'm incredibly happy that they've begun it again, because I think your point you just made, these are people on the ground, they're representing different parts of Ward 2. And they all have friends and neighbors and they all talk to each other. And, it's a way of getting the word out, just like you learned today, you're supposed to take care of your tree. You're learning some people who are in the RPD, what are their missions, what's top of mind. So I think I'm incredibly grateful we've started again. So thank you.
I am too, thank you. Moving on to expanding transparency, crime data tracking and reporting. Along with her comments about crime reports and statistics that we used to bring you guys, we had a program and an individual who would pull crime stats, we call them crystal reports. And we would kind of curate those specific to a ward that we were going to present in front of, and we would identify, what are the crime trends in your area, and then kind of give you tips and tricks to, not be a victim or to avoid being victimized by any crime trends that you might be experiencing. That system has long passed. We're standing up a new system. It's called Force Metrics. It's kind of the leading edge of hotspot crime mapping. I think the turnaround on that is a lot quicker. The crime stats we used to give you guys, they were at least a month old because it took that long to generate those and to get those out to you. What we're talking about now is live crime data that we'll be able to pull in any specific location and give you something that is a little more relevant, at least a little more timely. That would affect you all in your specific ward.
I'm gonna just give you an example. So about a year ago, the number of my neighbors, you guys know I live only a few blocks from here, a number of my neighbors called 911. They had an intruder that was going in people's yards, front yards, backyards, knocking on their door at like 11 at night saying, oh, have you seen my girlfriend Sharon? And they're like, what are you talking about? So a number of my neighbors were calling 911 over a period of a couple weeks. And one night, they called me. Now, I like to stay out of these things, right? Let the system work. But I got to a point that my neighbors were getting no response, right? And so I called the chief, at that time, Chief Nance, and I said, Chief, there's a watch commander in charge every night, I guess. And I said, I just got some people that called 911 and the same intruder keeps showing up and there's no action. And she was mystified. She said, we have no 911 calls for the last 2 weeks. I said, I'm just in shock. Don't you have something like heat mapping, like where the watch commander, in my mind, like how it should work? The watch commander would say, oh, we've got, these over the last 2 weeks, we should have dispatch some patrol in that area or something. But she said, there's no records here, Naomi, of any 911 calls. And at this point, there have been like 9. in about a 2-week period, and there had been a lot, like the 3 days prior to. So the next one that came in, actually came that night, and I said, well, if you could come immediately, and they did. And they caught the intruder within 2 blocks of where the 911 call was. But it was at that moment, about a year ago, that I realized that you did not have, at least in her mind and the watch commander's mind, accurate data to be able to do some projections, deploy teams, deal with things on the ground, like if there was a spree of, let's say, break-ins in cars, that kind of thing. And it sounds like what I'm hearing is maybe you're gonna have a system that might, at least it sounded like heat mapping, but I don't know.
Our watch commanders, really every officer that's on duty will have access to this. So an officer who's assigned a particular beat in an area can pull up their stuff specific to their assigned area and have instant
Wow,
data that is actionable that they can
Wow.
actually.
What kind of data?
So when we have calls, when we have break-ins, what you'll see, this is kind of what we're showing in the next slide is more bullet point type. These are like the top 5 of your specific ward. They'll have access to the actual calls that created that one of those topics to be top 5. They'll say, okay, we've had commercial burglaries over the last 24 hours in this specific area. So I'm gonna go focus my patrol time, or maybe even go back to the sergeant and say, I want to do an operation. Maybe it's a plain clothes or an undercover operation, and I want to watch this area. I remember years ago, we were getting hit up and down Wells Avenue. All the small businesses were getting burglarized consistently over the period of weeks. And we ended up catching the suspect in there because we would pull up all the reports before we had this and go and talk to business owners and say, okay, yeah, we have an identified trend over here. Now we're gonna spend some time and actually catch them. Curating that information in a timely enough manner to actually act on it was much more difficult than it is today, based on this system. So when calls come in, when crimes are reported, it gets dumped into this system. And the officer can pull it up and say, okay, what calls, what crimes have occurred in the last 24 hours in this area? And do I need to pay attention to it, or what can I do to counter that?
What Councilman or Councilwoman, so, it's a little bit disturbing. So I found myself in a situation of knowing there were stalkers around the house, a friend's house, and I couldn't leave. And calling 911, it wasn't in Reno, but calling 911 to get an officer to come and clear the area so I could actually leave the house. We knew this person was there, we knew our windows were being looked into, hear the noises, and I'm like, I can't get out of this house, I'm not going outside, and I really needed an officer, and what you're saying sounds like that didn't happen. And that's
well, they
scary.
did catch the person. They did arrest them. They did put them, I guess, into jail.
We had 9 calls. Don't get
Well,
recorded.
that was a year ago. And
I was
so,
happy in retirement. when that
I'm glad
happened, so
you-
I can speak.
yeah, now.
What's very nice about the advancement of technologies that we're talking about in the last 2 decades. Go from hand mucking reports and having to go back out and talking to citizens, which is great. But Force Metrics integrates with our CAD, which is our computer aided dispatch system. To help coordinate not only our calls for service, but actually those calls that come into dispatch, which we may not end up going to, but might still be informational for purposes. So we can have that information at hand. So all that technology development over the last 2 decades is vastly helpful. Me, I will say it goes over my head a little bit. I'm back to beating the street like we used to, just talking to individuals. But the individual coppers that are coming out today can access that at their fingertips, and it's exponentially quicker.
How does that help me if there's a stalker around my house and I call 911? Does somebody come, or do you have to look and see if there's been a lot of it around lately?
No, not, those are specific type situations that we have to look at.
We're talking about 2 different things. You're talking
Okay,
about
that's what I
individual
wanted.
call.
You're just talking about your data sets. What?
Correct.
And it,
Exactly.
I'm hearing what you're saying, that the data that you're trying to aggregate, doesn't sound like it's online yet. But
It's, we've got a working model right now. They're refining.
it's based on somebody called into emergency services for one reason or another.
Yes.
And this is an aggregation tool that says, so Donna, her neighbor, the other neighbor all called.
Trends, we call them.
And you're like, oh, wait, no, okay, we got 3 calls for this in the last 2 hours. You know, not that one Donna on her own, okay, but you got 3 of them, like we know the situation, right? Okay, wow, this is a little more, that.
Yeah, let me walk you through this so you kind of understand what you're talking about. You call 911. You say, hey, I think I have an intruder in my house. That's a priority one. Actually, that's an emergency in progress, so we would automatically dispatch a cop, okay? Cop's going to deal with your situation. That call that was generated gets populated into a data set. So you're still getting the help you need, but now that is a pinpoint for other officers to look at and say, oh, we've had 4 or 5 911 calls in this neighborhood of a similar nature, where we wouldn't have access to that before, still handling your individual situation. But now the other officers have knowledge of 911 calls across that neighborhood of a similar nature. And so that prompts their attention to act further in that area.
Aren't you glad to know you're priority 1?
I am so glad.
Emergency in progress.
But is this, oh, sorry. Is this different than when Chief Nance was here over a year ago, talking about how things were changing like that and how they were doing, I thought, similar to what you're talking about, in order to prioritize where to intensify patrols? Because, you know, being able to look at all the information and see where there was more things happening more consistently, so cutting it into regions to put more officers in certain areas than in other areas is completely different.
Is it a continuum of what started a year ago, or is this a whole
Or
new
is this
system?
new thing?
It's not a whole new system.
It is.
It is not
Oh,
a
it's
whole new
not.
system. It is a revision of what was started.
Gotcha.
Okay, so you're taking that.
Trying to
forward.
better systems. Another thing that's populating is real-time information center, our crime center that's being built up so that we can take all that information with data analysts, individuals that can look at all that stuff very quickly and populate it and push it out to us as law enforcement.
Thank you.
Answer my question.
Oh, sorry about
Oh,
that.
answered it? Okay.
Sure. Good.
Yes, I was gonna ask if it was real time.
Oh,
Yes, okay. Cool. Moving on, internal affairs activity and review revisions and posting policies. So we used to have an annual report. I had heard that there was a variation of it maybe over the last couple of years. But when we took a look at, again, being transparent to the public, republishing what we used to do in the annual report. I can tell you that there are state laws that govern information we can put out there, either in a certain amount of time or the type of information, whether it's an internal investigation, just like a criminal investigation. Understand this, that our goal is to protect the process to get to the desired end result. So in a criminal case, I know people have gotten frustrated if we were investigating a case and people want to know names or they want to know information up on a case. There's holdback information that we will not tell the public because we're interested in catching the suspect and being able to prosecute them. In an internal setting, there are laws and protections that are in place that if we violate those, then we can't get to that same desired end result. So I know there were a lot of questions over the previous administration and what the status is and people just wanting to know information, which is human nature. We understand that. But I would not risk the integrity of an investigation to get you information if it meant compromising that investigation and the investigation goes nowhere. So I would ask really, kind of the public's patience, and a lot of this, I know it's frustrating not to have all the information when you want it and the type of information you want. But understand the reasoning behind that is whether it's criminal, whether we're dealing with some internal stuff. There are certain rules that we need to follow in order to achieve a complete investigation and do what needs to be done. And we're not willing to compromise that just to let people know what's going on, if that makes sense. Cool. Managing current enforcement priorities, we kind of talked about it, hit on it a little bit, and Lieutenant White-Turbio hit like the top 5 for your ward specifically. But traffic enforcement, I'm sure you're gonna see it by the top 5 on your board. Traffic enforcement across all wards across the city is a very big problem for us. And we are making moves and, making decisions to impact that in a positive way. I will tell you from a legislative standpoint, when traffic violations moved from the criminal realm, from being a misdemeanor to a civil, a civil infraction, it took away a lot of our ability to do enforcement. We still go write tickets and stuff, but I'll give you an example. I think one of the biggest complaints we get is how come there's all these cars rolling around without license plates, without registration? Why aren't you guys doing anything? For those that know, anybody that's bought a car in just the last 5 years, it's a pretty penny to register that car. I mean, you're talking a lot of money. Driving without a valid registration is like a drop in the bucket, $20, $30, $100 ticket. So if I've got a car that's gonna cost me $1,700 to register, I can get 7 tickets before I even reach the amount that I already don't have.
Like the trees, yeah.
Yeah, so you have people out there who they will, no kidding, have a couple tickets laying on their passenger seat. They're like, that's cool, that's still cheaper than what it costs to register this thing, I'll take the ticket. That's one of the unintended consequences of moving it from a criminal realm into a civil realm.
And you would not believe how many complaints I get on this.
Yes.
Constant. I have one guy that was like writing me every single 2 weeks. Giving me, sending me pictures of unregistered vehicles. And I totally hear what you're saying, and it is so true. I mean, it is really affected, things like that.
In some ways.
Well intended, but
Yes, in human nature, we get what we ask for.
yeah,
It was voted on and it was voted to make them civil infractions. We did bring up the issue of a lack of being able to enforce those.
The flip side of that is, can have people go to jail for an unpaid speeding ticket.
or for broken tail light,
That's,
right?
that's
Yeah,
the
but
flip side.
I think I can speak for my kids. They understand if there's consequences, they'll follow the rules. And I'll just leave it at that.
Could you explain, I'm not familiar with the law change that you're referencing.
So moving our traffic used to be misdemeanor crimes.
Yeah.
They were moved from the criminal realm to the civil realm, so now they're civil infractions.
When was that done?
What was it, 21?
Yeah.
Statewide?
Or is the
Statewide.
last, the last.
Yeah, it was state legislation.
It wasn't the last, it wasn't this last, it was the one before that.
Before that,
Before that.
yes.
So, just an example, back then when they switched it, we had chapter 8 of Reno Municipal Code, I believe this was our criminal section for traffic. Majority of that disappeared, all went to civil infractions. Yeah. So when we go out to write tickets, we can still do that, they're listed as civil infractions. And then the penalty goes to the court system, and it's decided upon there by the individual. Not a base rate, which we get into that debate of what's right socially, but like what AC said, there has to be some sort of consequences. So trying to figure that out on a legislative basis would be much better than just to remove it criminally altogether.
Is the city attorney still the plaintiff in that case, or is it just the judge decides and the defendant appears as like the civil thing?
A majority of that goes to the civil court, and it's just the judge. I don't believe the city attorney is assigned to it now.
Okay.
I don't remember for sure.
Now, I understand this year there might be a move back to possibly restore some of these.
And that's where we'll ask for people.
So that, it related, one of our neighbors asked me to ask the group, and since you guys are here, I'll ask you, what about, like the Karen coming around from like Lakeside all the way around West McCarran and Mayberry, through Cash Hill and all of that?
What about?
Well, in general enforcement, there's been quite a few pretty serious crashes up there.
Yes.
And I guess there is some back and forth between, is it city enforcement, is it a state road, because it is McCarran, and how does that work?
So it is a state route. Technically, it is a jurisdiction of Highway Patrol. Anybody that's followed them and their staffing, I mean, we feel like we're hurting. The Highway Patrol has been hurting for a number of years in their staffing.
Yeah.
But if you go back to our agreements, we call them MOUs, but agreements with partner agencies. We had an agreement with the Highway Patrol, I want to say back in the eighties, to police those state routes that were within our city jurisdiction. We've been trying to get them back to the table to say, hey, you know, let's work this thing together. And I'll be honest with you, I think over the last couple of years, the Highway Patrol has worked very well with us, especially when it comes to the sideshows and the street racing and everything we're dealing with.
Yeah.
They are very much on board working with us. But yes, they are technically state routes. Virginia, 4th Street, it's the old Highway 40, McCarran, the McCarran Loop. Those are all state routes. But if we said, hey, that's your jurisdiction, we're not gonna pay attention to that, it's not gonna solve the problem that we experience every day.
Yeah.
So just to put a fine point on this, I've become very annoying to our new chief, Soprano, because I have asked him for a public workshop on McCarran. You know, I have a big chunk of McCarran, you know, we do in Ward 2, big chunk. And it's in other places in Sparks too. And it is become a very favorite place for the motorcycles, right, to race. And you could hear it, especially Friday, Saturday. They have websites that where they're gonna meet up and where they're gonna race and all this. So he and I have talked. So we've gone round and round. Some of the going round and round is the police do not want to intercede in a race and possibly cause an accident, right? They don't want to chase. They don't want to cause an accident. What he told me the strategy was wait till they stop and then give them a ticket, but I don't think that's happening either. So I asked him, just so you know, I said, because I've gone out with, and I don't know if formal title now, commander, but a deputy.
There's a lieutenant then,
Okay, but what are you now?
assistant chief.
Assistant chief. So with the assistant chief Carlick, I've gone out with him on street racing, ride along and things like that. And I said, well, every 4th one, could you go police McCarran? Could you do McCarran? And just let my residents know, because it's both sides of McCarran, right? And we've got it all in Ward 2, Collin Ranch, Lake Bridge, Mayberry, all of it's now in Ward 2. Just occasionally, could you take an action there? So at least they know we're paying attention. And he said yes, and he sort of said no, and we've kind of gone back and forth. And again, I just met with him yesterday. And of course, I bring it up every single time. So I was glad to hear you bring it up, since it's not just me sounding like a broken record. But I get a lot of calls. I have videos from residents that have sound. And I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that the chief is coming, not this council meeting, but I think the next one, to present kind of the state of the police. And he's told me he's gonna discuss it, but
Should your cameras be helping?
Well,
this is what I'm
we
saying.
actually-
The cameras, look at the cameras.
Well, we have data collection trailers right now. Actually, I think they're wrapping up their survey in Ward 3.
I heard.
They're moving to Ward 6 for about 3 weeks, and then we're gonna be moving it down here. So another bit of trivia, back in 08, 09 was kind of the height before the great fall. Our traffic division had 40 cops, motors and traffic, strictly doing enforcement. Today, we have 8. So we never really recovered from that great downfall back then. We're on our way to recovering a larger portion of that obviously we can spare based on priorities. Traffic is a priority of ours, so we want to bolster our traffic section, which is why he just recently got named to shift over to our traffic.
Speed is a big cause of
Yes.
accidents, right? I mean.
And so what we're doing with the resources we have is we have these data collection trailers. Instead of taking 8 cops in the entire city of Reno, say, drive around and start stopping people, we want to focus on the areas where they're speeding the most, where we have the most problem. In order to do that, we have to collect the data to say, okay, yes, you know what, from my house down off Damani, I can hear racing. I couldn't tell you if it was on Veterans, if it was on Damani, if it was on Double R. These trailers will help us capture where they're actually at, and then we can focus what resources we do have and say, okay, this is the day of the week, this is the time of day. We want focused enforcement in this area for the highest success rate of capturing all these people that are speeding.
And I'm gonna interject, so Chief Solferino also used this term trailer, which was confusing to me. I thought people were like inside this trailer or something. But what it really is it's the radar speed
Yes.
that says, what is the speed and what speed are you going, right? It's a feedback. I have had installed these all over, some permanent, some movable, but it sounds like you
Yeah,
have,
those I don't believe we can retrieve data from.
oh, really?
The mobile trailers are the ones that capture the date, time, speed.
Right.
And gives
All that.
us, yes, gives us all the data that we can
Right.
use. The others are kind of just feedback, so
Right.
a driver knows how fast they're going in relation to the posted speed.
I can integrate to system.
That, well, actually, on estimating speed,
I would say it should.
it should, but the problem with state legislation again is, so in California, they have like traffic cams and stuff that issue tickets. Best of my knowledge, we don't have the ability to do that.
No, it's against the law here.
Well,
with that.
that's what I mean is.
Are you talking about the data collection, the real-time
The,
information?
yeah, so I mean, if you got this thing that's collecting a data point, hey, I saw 50 vehicles going by at 25 miles an hour over.
That's probably available to some price point, but these ones are not. They're not pushing back the information. We have to put it in certain areas. Then we have to collect and download that information.
Yeah.
That's how we have to do it with these specific.
So you're still sneaker netting it. Okay.
Yeah, and we only have 2 of those trailers, so.
Sounds like you enough.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, the McCarran specific thing, the other thing that a traffic expert, aside from enforcement in a particular area, ideas on what, is there a calming type of device that could be used in that area?
Just like the taser or something.
I think I want those. I don't know if it's common. It's some- it's some sort of-
Well, you get the first one.
I just had a meeting this morning, it's called the 3D Traffic Roundtable, so it's engineering, education, and enforcement. Obviously, there's gotta be 3 prongs to some, going out there, the engineering side we're talking about, we did somewhat leave that up to other departments in the city to help us design, like Karen could be a point of that, but that's also state route.
Yeah.
So we just can't go in and start developing a state route because the state's gotta get involved.
Gets complicated.
So there's all these different agencies that gotta be put into it. Engineering, as far as people with degrees that go out, and build specific angles and turns, all of that information. But that's all accounted for, but it just takes time.
Yeah.
So, and traffic, luckily, I joked about it, but I actually was pretty happy when they sent this to me. Never done traffic in my career. But my father that worked for Reno PD actually has a motor for probably 25 years out of his 30-year career. So I have some heritage in it. So I have some skin in the game, let's say. And I actually have a photo that people have come up into my office and talked about. It's a half of our motor team at one of the hot August nights. And there's 16 motors in that photo, about half. So we're down to 8 now. So I have a lot of requests to the chief and of people that we meet on a daily basis to start bolstering my motor numbers back up. Because that's really is that education side of it and then enforcement as well. So.
One thing that I do believe is coming to McCarran at, Call and Fluence is the, stop ahead for the signal there. I
Yes.
believe that flash was coming to say, I think
Yeah.
in both directions.
Yeah, so that's an
So hopefully
education
that's what
side.
helped with what you do down there,
Yes.
but
Thank you.
And then the dreaded e-bike.
I
I don't know
thought
about you
kid
all,
laying on
in my
the
neighborhood, the kids rolling around on these e-bikes and the e-motorcycles. They're causing a lot of trouble, and so we're working with our city attorney's office, working with our traffic section. To come up really with an education, a deterrence and enforcement piece when it comes to e-bikes. And not just an enforcement piece for the kids that are out there doing it, but also holding parents responsible for their children as well. I think there's a component here, especially when it comes to our kids, where we as adults, we as parents have to take ownership and responsibility of our kids. Make sure they're not out terrorizing the neighborhood. I drove down Demonte one day, right at Demonte and Veterans, one of the largest intersections down there. And there were 2 kids on e-bikes doing donuts in the middle of going home or rush hour traffic. And
Wow.
they did not care one bit that cars were honking at them or anything. They just stayed there and stopped up traffic in all 4 directions.
So chief, what'd you do?
I
Taser.
may have said a couple things. Well, this was while I was in retirement. so- And then I called some counterparts that I knew still worked that area
Yeah.
and said, you need to do something about these.
Wow.
guys."
As driving here today, I saw a kid laying on the ground on Fourth Street. And
Laying on the ground.
laying on the ground, the ambulance is there, he's laying on the ground, not moving next to his e-bike, and nobody's in a hurry.
Oh, my
So
God.
I don't know how that went.
Yeah.
But
The mayor
It
told
was,
me,
I was listening to it before we came in, a self-involved accident, so.
He crashed,
Mine-
he crashed on his bike.
okay.
the mayor
My
told
traffic
me
AI
that
takes care of it. It's pretty-
she was doing a walkabout downtown a couple nights ago. And she came across two of our police officers intersecting with two kids that were climbing on Virginia Street Bridge up on the top. And she was so impressed with the way those officers handled the situation, got the kids down, called their parents, which sounded like it was really serious to your point, of what happened there. And, handled the whole situation beautifully. I mean, it's kids doing something different, extremely dangerous, to your point. So she just mentioned that to me yesterday, so I thought I'd mention it here. In terms of kids, you know, she was really blown away with how they handled. So.
And then last but certainly not least, our open heat team is our human exploitation and trafficking units. We combine forces with all jurisdictions to really focus in on human trafficking and exploitation. We take that very seriously, and I think combined efforts of all the jurisdictions, we've been making some really, really good cases, and we're making a lot of good headway. And with that, I will turn this over to Lieutenant Liberty for your specific ward.
All right, so this is for Ward 2. You're looking at the direct calls for service. Specifically talking about Ward 2, these would be the top 5 that are generated into our CAT system, so computer aided dispatch. May or may not go to them, just depends on what they are. So parking legally, that one, I get that too now, and being in traffic with our parking enforcement division. So they're gonna probably handle that more than an officer. Obviously, again, going back to the integration of services, like Chief mentioned before, parking enforcement is now back under the Reno Police Department. So I get the benefit of seeing both sides of it.
Does this
Graffiti,
include abandoned vehicles?
I believe so.
Because abandoned vehicles is the #1 in every single ward.
Yes, you'll see a lot of coinciding stuff between the wards.
Okay.
Okay. Graffiti, we have 2 abatement technicians in our regional gang unit, so they go out trying on public areas, coming up the graffiti as quickly as possible. Because those individuals really want notoriety, so if we can take that away as quickly as possible, get them to stop. And then there's obviously integrated with our gang unit that helps prosecution of those cases. Request for additional patrol, that might be a house watch, that might be a neighborhood watch,
That might be
it just
both of them.
depends, there's a lot of things that go into that, that's I wanna say a generic catch-all type thing that we look at. Traffic, then, and speeding, I gotta deal with those. I'm big on data-driven enforcement, like Chief said before, Chief Silverino is involved with. So I'm using our data analyst to kind of build out where would best serve those 8 individuals in my unit right now to help serve the public the best. Now, not to say that we can't service other areas, but I'm gonna look at that data area. If it's McCarran and I coincide and work with NSP or State Police Highway Patrol, then we'll do that. So, then moving on to the top 5 calls for dispatch service. The EMS hit on every single one, because right now what our MOU states, if they're going, we're going. We still work with them in essence, because it might be somebody who fell off their bike, but we still get notified of that because it could be a potential accident. Well, if EMS gets there first and says, no, it's just somebody that fell off their bike, they're probably gonna cancel us. Or we need to put a pause on it, looking at that call for service. What I used to do with my supervisors at patrol, say, gauge where we're gonna best get our services. If it's most likely a medical, let EMS get there first and gauge if they need us. So we'll send it to Remsen. Also, RFD has our medics now too.
Is there a difference between REMSA being dispatched for medical versus the fire department?
On our end, no, they're one and the same. So we'll get REMSA calls, we'll get fire calls, and for us, it's just EMS.
Thank you.
Traffic stops. I actually started doing those again. I was more on the admin side, pushing paper, doing stuff like that. But in my position, I think I need to get out there with my troops, help supervise them and make traffic stops every now and then. Unwanted subjects, whether it's our unhoused population or individuals that just show up and trespass and don't need to be at a place, we're gonna end up responding to those calls and handling them, whether it's enforcement, education, it just depends on when we get there. Alarm calls, this has been big over the last 10, 15 years of trying to judge what is an actual alarm versus what is a false alarm. There was a huge amount of the percentage that was false alarms. So that was taken over. It's coming back under the police department to state what calls we actually need to go to help educate individuals that may just have faulty equipment, need to reestablish with their alarm companies or better serve public in general, just with what's going on.
Well, the other thing in addition to that, there are a lot of apartment complexes and maybe shopping malls that have on-site security. And so what we had noticed is that we would get the alarm call that would take us, 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes to get there. And there's a security officer sitting in the parking lot and they were unaware of the alarm. So we had to kind of work out the logistics of notifications to get somebody who's actually on scene to investigate something. And if they need us, well, we're responding, but if they didn't need us, they would have the ability to call us off. We can go to another priority call.
Emergency. Area checks, if we go back to our data-driven policing and we start identifying areas that could be of high crime or high populace for specific crimes, that's where we can just start doing our area checks. But again, like the chief said, we can't just hit the entire populace of Reno because it's becoming so large. Born and raised here, I'm back to the McCarran being the southern border and going out after high school and shooting guns and maybe doing some hunting. But that's no more the case. We have to really generate where our police are best served for the community. So again, if we can use that data-driven policing, specific areas, so those area checks out there. Top 5 reports that we take, grand larceny of a motor vehicle. I would say a majority of these, probably individuals right now in this heat, running their cars to keep them cool or ice in the winter months, that go out to warm them up. Either leave their keys. There's some cars that don't have those kill switches. I think the majority of them now have them. I know my Dodge, that's 15 years old. If I didn't lock the cars and shut it off, you jump in and drive it away, and without the key in there. So just informational purposes, big education in that. Petty larceny of a motor vehicle, so joyriding, the difference in those two. The permanent depriving of the vehicle, the property of an individual, that's where you get grand larceny of a motor vehicle versus that petty larceny. If somebody takes it out for a joyride, then abandons it very much shortly afterwards, we have to look at those 2 crimes. Again, going back to the academy being 24 weeks and educating those officers on which crimes specifically fits what's going on.
Joyriding would often be kids taking their parents' car out for a drive. Then them reporting it stolen and us finding out it's their kids or a friend who used to have access to a vehicle that took it without the owner's permission. That would kind of fit in there.
Luckily, school's back in, so it helps alleviate a lot of those problems. And then we get to destruction of property and just breaking stuff that's not yours, whether it's windows, something on a vehicle.
Lock camera.
Could happen. Robbery, get into your more serious crimes right there. We take those as the emergencies. Those could be armed or unarmed, meaning strong arm robbery. I force somebody just by use of force, strong arm me and, my hands, otherwise a weapon, knife, gun, stuff like that. And then unlawful use of a credit card, probably because I think this area probably has more stores. So we might get one of those crimes. Just relating them with unlawful use of a credit card. I take his credit card, I go out and buy something I really like an e-bike. And then go joyriding with it, like you get hit with 3 crimes right there. And if I took it at force, it's robbery. Top 5 reports for this area.
Wow.
So another thing that chiefs are big about is collecting information. I think I told it was you, Bill, that I was talking to beforehand. I started coming to NAB meetings when I was a probationary officer and a probationary sergeant. And now I'm back. I'm not a probationary lieutenant, but it's still nice to get out and talk to the public, because like Chief said, you guys are really boots on the ground as well. You know what's going on. Some people may not like talking to the police. So they can talk to you and then you can give us information. But what are trends you're noticing, more questions that you have that I hopefully can answer? Help.
The previous slide, you had a quarter of data of reporting. Is this pretty consistent with what you see across the board? Or is this just representing April or June?
Yes. So again, specific crimes depending on the ward, depending on the time of year, they can change. So you
Okay.
can see variations. I believe the chief that was working at 10 quarterly, you're gonna see adjustments to these, so you'll changes and variations.
Yeah, Nick Oliver, for the record. I don't know that this has affected Ward 2 yet. Hopefully it won't, but I was really kind of scared at how many of these fires were arson related. And so just wondering if your department has been involved in, working to prevent or investigate any of those. I'm not sure, coordinated, or if it's, just a series of random crazy people setting fires, but it was really sort of scary.
It is, we do with the arson investigators with RFD. Sean O'Brien is very good about, if he sees a trend, dumpster fires, let's say downtown. He will notify us and say, hey, just so you guys know, because it won't necessarily hit our radar, it'll go to fire, right? And he'll say, hey, you guys are out there and about a lot more often than we are. This is a hotspot area, unintended, dumpster fires that we've been having, and we've been responding during these times. So we have that coordinated effort with RFD in regard to those fires. I don't know, I can't remember about how long ago it was. We had that one individual who started setting fires all along 395, all the way through town. So every once in a blue moon, we're gonna have, we'll have somebody of that nature that does that. Fires in the wintertime for homeless population, tent structures, building little tent communities, and then warming fires, one catches and they all catch. So we're very much invested in helping prevent that, because we deal with a lot of the same clientele.
Yeah, fire investigators do have to go to our academy as well, so they're, they're Cat 1, technically officers, so they can make arrests.
They just don't always carry.
So,
Jerry, can you describe the policy on body worn cameras and dash cameras? Like with the traffic stops and with other interactions with the public. What is the policy? You usually turn on the camera every time you have an interaction.
So the way the legislation is written for our body worn cameras, I have to be in uniform, taking enforcement action and dealing with the public. Policy's going a little bit more of how we actually utilize the cameras. This is a mini computer essentially. But for legislation reasons, there's no specific time frame set, like if I'm en route to a call or when I've arrived, but specifically dealing with the public, lawful action, and in uniform, when I have to wear body cams.
How about the dash camera?
Oh, the dash cam, sorry. Those just came over the last couple of years. Body worn cameras we've had for 4 or 5. Yeah, it's back. A little long. So sorry. So, the fleet cams, those are actually a little bit more self-activating. So if we go into code 3 status, lights and sirens, those will automatically turn on. I will state, love the cameras. They're great. I thought I wouldn't, because I come from an era where I didn't have cameras. But I'm trying to remember the exact, it was like 95, 98% have overturned a lot of those complaints that we receive when you start playing, and the individual that says we were the problem quickly becomes a problem on camera. But our fleet cams, they're isolated to specific coverage, so you don't always get what's going on. If I step away from my car, you're not gonna see what that camera has, because my interaction's most likely away from there. Body worn cameras are great, but again, it's only catching it's 160 degrees. This version's a whole lot better. I'd have to go back on the data stuff because Axon's constantly updating there. We're getting new information, new stuff. This catches better information than the fleet camera catch. And that's specifically based on the criteria of, are we going code 3 with lights and sirens? Do we have that on? We have the ability to turn it on separately, but if I jump out of the car, again, I'm not dealing with it. It's not gonna serve me a whole lot of purpose.
Well, if an officer is just making a traffic stop. All right, what is the policy? Turn on the camera, has to get out of the
So-
car.
When we go to initiate a traffic stop, that's gonna be into our code 3 status with lights and sirens, so that will automatically turn on the camera. And it will stay on for the duration of
Body
the-
cam, they are required to turn.
Yes,
But if you're, as you know, for hot August nights, you see cops that are walking around during hot August nights, just interacting with the public, their cameras don't have to be activated, they have to be on. So if they take enforcement action, that's when they have to activate their cameras.
Don, can you ask a question? This is a bigger question and maybe you have by now worked out a soundbite answer. But to the general uninformed public, when all of a sudden we lost Chief Nance and 3 other higher level people in the police department, and then the new chief came in, and then council went on vacation, and then we see, oh, we're all merging departments. So, I mean, there's a lot of details I could ask you about, but I'm kind of interested in this global picture about how that happened, why it's good for RPD, and how you're working on interactions about the merged services, and how that just kind of happened so quick all of a sudden, because,
By happen,
well,
It was in the news.
yeah, we didn't know, you know, Chief Vance is gone. Somebody else is here, we like him, and all of a sudden we're merging with Washoe County and Sparks doesn't know anything about it. So, of course, as an uninformed member of the public, that leads us to believe that there were lots of conversations going on for a really long period of time before there was an opportunity to just kind of make it happen. To the public, it feels like it just kind of, wow, that was something. Wonder what all we're doing here.
Well, it's
Don, I
actually-
want no status report.
I want you to.
nothing is actually happening. I will tell you, in my career, consolidation has been attempted at least 4, maybe 5 times in my career. And it hasn't happened.
So we do not have consolidation at this moment in time?
no.
We have a regionalization of some of our specialty resources, which take the gang unit, for instance. The gang unit has been regional for almost
30 years.
Yeah. Actually, 2.5
Really?
decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Heard about that.
and we basically said, okay, we have a gang problem in all 3 jurisdictions. None of the agencies standalone has the amount of resources needed to deal with the gang problem. So we all got together and said, hey, you know what, I'll put in a couple officers, you put in a couple officers, you put in a couple, and we'll create this kind of regional team. Tripling our resources and going out and dealing with the gang problem. So there's a distinct difference between regionalization and consolidation. A lot of our units and what we're doing now is regionalizing our units. Best utilizing our resources or limited resources to its most effective.
Maybe topic specific. So this is, again, the reason I asked is what was in the media may or may not really be happening.
Yes.
But there was a lot of fluff up in the media about all of a sudden we have a new chief and then we're gonna merge with Washoe County. And then Sparks doesn't know anything about the conversation. And then they dropped it. So we don't really know what happened.
It's my understanding that the sheriff had been kind of taking a look at the possibility for actually the last 3 years. I couldn't tell you what was in his mind, if he saw that this might be an opportunity to make that happen or not. I know it's not happening. I think it's prohibitive for all 3 jurisdictions. There are certain paths that you have to follow in order for it to occur. My stance personally, and what I've told people, what I'll still tell people, is whatever makes sense in regard to service, level of service to the community, I'll be for. If you can sell to me that consolidation improves service to our community, I'll be for it. If you show me that staying separate entities is the best way forward for service to our community, then I'll be for that. I have not seen any numbers, I have not seen any plans that tells me consolidation is better. Not saying they're not out there, I have not seen them,
So that's not currently a hot topic of discussion?
not for us, no.
And I'll just tell you if I could jump in. So one day while I'm on council break, I get a call. I'll get a call from Sheriff Balaam and he says, hey, I just want to let you know I'm going on TV to announce that I'm looking at consolidation. And he said basically what the chief said, that he'd been looking at it for 3 years and he'd actually held off. He was about to announce it, but he'd held off because of what was going on with Chief Vance and all that. And at that time, of course, he didn't know that we were going to bring over deputy sheriff and have be running our police department on a temporary basis. But anyway, he said he held off rather than took that opportunity to do consolidation.
Yes.
And so what I said is very much to what the chief said here, which is that, look, let me first tell you how many efforts at consolidation are already underway. Then I listed, of course, our fire. We have a big study going on about fire consolidation. I said, but what you may not know, Sheriff, is we also have a big study going on about sewer consolidation between Reno, Sparks, and Washington County. As part of that, we also have a big regionalization effort on stormwater as part of sewer. Then I said, also, you may not realize we are having a huge discussion about parks districts, especially along the river. And how can we manage that with Reno, Sparks, and Washington County? And I said, the one thing I'll tell you is that us as elected officials can only handle so much data, so much analysis, so much special meetings in our brain. Like, this is I told him, honestly, that this was a very bad timing. Like I said, we got more than enough on our plate, plus we got an election. We're about to have potential, new mayor, possibly in 2 cities, plus who knows what's going on in the county, potentially a new chair of the county commission, etc. And I said, I can't think of a worse time to have this conversation. I said, I'm for consolidation generally. I lived in 2 counties in Florida, or near in Duval County, which is consolidated city county, Jacksonville and Duval County. Then we have Miami-Dade. We have the city of Miami, we have Dade County, also have city county consolidation in many aspects. I said, I'm for it, wherever it can save, bring efficiency, bring better service. I said, do you have numbers? Well, no, we didn't have numbers. Then I said, well, have you done studies? Well, he's had to get numbers here, numbers there, but none of them are official numbers. And so I just said, look, I don't think you're going to convince anybody to have numbers until you can show that it pays for itself. That do we need a special tax district? Do we need a special board? How's it supposed to be managed? I said, I've offered to step off council for years if we could consolidate, if we needed to consolidate and we need to get rid of a few council members. I was offering because I think if it's bringing efficiency, I'm willing to give up my job. But so very much to what you said, and I'm point blank telling you what I told them. I said, bad timing. We got too much on our plate. We got so much on our plate. We can only mentally handle and process and work with our constituents on so many topics right now. So that's and then he told me about that there's a state law that guides how this consolidation has to go. And I asked, well, do we need to go to the legislature as well? And that's sort of up in the air. So I would say I haven't heard another word since he did his interview. And it wasn't that Sparks didn't know about it. They told him point blank they weren't interested.
Well, what was in the media? I don't know.
I know, but I'm just saying.
So
Yeah.
perhaps in your transparency communication to the public part, I'm just telling you, in case nobody else has, what it seems and feels like from just your average bear who pays attention to city politics. That I heard these things. We heard all this stuff. Okay, Chief Vance gone. Don't know anything about that. Somebody else comes in, don't know who he is, where it came from, and we kind of told. And then all of a sudden, somebody's announcing stuff about it. Maybe as part of these presentations you're doing, you could have a soundbite about whatever you heard in the media. It's not really true. This is what I'm
Whatever you
doing.
heard in the media, it's not true.
Thank you.
All right.
Maybe not that.
No, yeah, I get it.
But
Like, okay, really? So now we have this new chief and somehow he's been having background conversations with the rest of the county. And Sparks saying, well, we don't know anything about it. That's the way it was written. That's what I heard. And so I'm thinking, well, this all sounds like yet another really shady thing. This council is on their time off. They come back, money has to be appropriated, you cheat, share budgets, on certain things, and it's confusing to some people, and it adds to the level of disgust and distrust. So I'm just suggesting
topic.
maybe that would be something you could incorporate 3 minutes of and kind of just wipe that off the plate while you're talking.
Absolutely.
Because it kind of smelled bad the way it came across, and I'm not saying I distrusted or I just thought it was something that you should know, you should make a statement. It didn't come off.
It was so much of a surprise that I had several mayoral council members in the months before, not council members, candidates, asked me about consolidation, and I told them, gosh, with the sheriff and the police, and I said, I haven't heard a word about it, put it in the back of your mind. There's nothing like that going on, only to have the sheriff call me, and then I had to call the candidates and say, you know what, I was completely wrong. I mean,
And it
so-
was in media.
so, but I mean, all this was in months before the summer, blah, blah, blah.
They
so.
never come back and say, oh, by the way, everything we reported isn't happening. You don't get that.
I don't mean to cut people
Yeah,
short, but I
okay.
do want to make sure our applicant has a little bit of time
Yeah.
to present. and
Anyway,
we're-
thank you.
So unless there's another immediate question from the board, for our officers, anybody in the room, anybody online?
Great spot.
Okay,
Thank you all.
gentlemen, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, that moves us on to page 6, staff liaison report.
Do you want to go to development first?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's move on to E1. Thank you.
Legally.
So moved.
Yeah, go ahead, go to B1. You did that, but it takes a while to take off.
We'll just.
We'll get folks.
Hi, guys, my name's Kayla Becker, and this is my husband, Bo Abraham, and we are applying for a rate of deviation to reduce the setback, or front setback of our hopefully new residents from 30 feet to 17.9 feet. We bought the land in 2024, and since then, we've been working with architects and engineers to figure out a way to maximize the space. As you can see, that is the steamboat ditch. So we do have to keep that in mind with the setbacks, and the area is not zoned to be hooked up to the sewer, so we also have to keep the septic setback in mind too, in relation to the ditch. This is just the land right now. Because the next page is gonna be the plot. The driveway will be about right here, and the setback is about right there. So there's the house. And that. And the setback is about right there, so. Yeah.
Wait, do you go back?
Yes.
Can you explain that a little bit? Like, so
So,
you have 2 front door problem, the 2 front yard problem on your property?
so it is a corner lot. So this is Seuss Lane, and that's Natalie Street, so the front yard is actually technically, I believe, on Natalie Street, where the driveway comes in.
So that shaded area, I guess, is the driveway?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the setback is from
It,
Natalie.
That's
yeah, this is where the setback deviation has to be from.
You, maybe just. Finger on part of the house.
Yeah. This- The
Oh,
house base right here where the foundation will be, and then this setback right here from the street to this corner of the house where the front garage will be. Is what we're asking for the deviation.
so about how many, what portion of your front yard, in other words, your front yard also goes back along the house, so this way, like to the right of your driveway. continues.
Yeah, this will only be a few feet off the, well, not a few feet, more than a few feet off the neighbor's house, and then this will be all of our backyard. And this will be more of the side yard to the front. It's just an odd layout.
And so is it too steep then on the?
You can see the topography. So this is more flat, as you can see with the closer line, so that's just the natural building.
So if you moved it back farther to keep your setback, you run into a slope issue of having.
If
They
you look
can't move
at
to the
the-
south.
Yeah, we also have the issue with needing an easement for the next door neighbor and for the ditch access.
Yep.
So we have a limited building envelope.
So
So
does
our
this
access-
drawing represent the required setback or only the proposed setback?
Sorry, what-
Is your drawing representing only the proposed setback or also the required? I don't see the.
It has the required to,
Can you point to it?
which required.
The 30 foot that you are requesting to have reduced to 7.9, does it show the 30 foot?
No, it does not. It just shows the 17.
It might be helpful for everybody, for you to show us what's happening to your house plan when the 30 foot line, it'll cover it, so your plan, right?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Your setback is there, see 30 foot
Oh.
setback on the top.
So that dash
Extends
line.
all the way through.
Yeah,
It's just very low.
So what, yeah, I can't read it from here, but.
Oh, yeah, where's the 30 foot setback?
this one right here, yeah, so it kind of cuts off this
Okay.
one. So they're actually
Not-
only by a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah.
Then you have a setback for the ditch too, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So
Yeah,
if
we
you
have.
start moving towards the ditch, you're gonna have to get a deviation for that then. If you would do that way. So any way you put the house on there, you're gonna have to ask for something probably.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Any questions?
Nick Oliver, sorry. I was just curious, I know this area very well, I go on that part of the ditch all the time. In the back part of the property that you're not developing, there's a lot of like wild berries there that
Yes,
people really
blackberries.
love. Are you planning to tear those out or damage them or take them or do
No.
anything? Okay.
Then I will say, because this is where it is potentially the easement for the ditch company. If we do have to do that, we would have to make changes to the bushes, but I know people are very emotionally attached to the red.
There's literally children there collecting them like every
Yeah.
day right now, yeah.
Yeah, every time I'm out there,
Yeah.
there's always someone. That's
Yeah, it's a big like public resource, I would say.
Yeah,
like-
we do plan on keeping as much greenery. We have dogs, so the less they can see, sometimes the better.
Yeah, it's good,
And
it's good privacy right now.
Yeah, it definitely
Yeah.
is. So we would like to keep as much of the greenery as we can. And taking in mind the necessary easements.
So, yeah, actually, I had a question about that too. It's just a good segue, which is you have to allow for a easement to the vacant lot behind you guys, right? Is that what that is? Okay,
Yes, and I am still, I'm in communication with the ditch. That actually run the steamboat ditch, I believe they also would need the access.
Both.
easement.
parties would use that.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
And-
where would they access?
yeah,
But right now it's proposed to be just along the ditch. So you can see this
Yeah.
little,
Right around, yeah, right around here.
What did you call it?
The private easement,
Private
it's
easement.
not even private, but the easement for the joint property and.
Yeah, it's-
Most people.
I know one of the big questions that comes up a lot, I'm sure you know this. So the Steamboat Ditch has a trail along it, and one of the issues that I end up getting dragged into sometimes are when people build a new house, sometimes they will fence off vertically and prevent people from walking that trail. Where is the trail relative to
the
your?
trail starts right here actually.
It's on the other side.
Yeah, so it starts at the edge and I grew up, right now we live in Panther Valley, but
Where?
we live in Panther Valley right now, but I grew up on Belford, so just up the street. I walked my dog on the ditch my whole life, and part of the exciting factors when we found the lot was that I was on the ditch, and I do not plan on cutting anyone's access onto that.
Does your property go across the whole ditch? Deep.
It doesn't cross the ditch, it just runs along it.
So the ditch is usually on somebody's property. The
Yeah.
ditch doesn't own any property. They have this prescriptive easement that the ditch has been there forever, so it gets to be there.
Yes.
We do own the part of the actual trail. In our property,
On the south side?
on the, yes,
Cause you showed the trail on the south side of your lot.
on the south side, yes, so we own this portion,
So you do own where the ditch is, like the whole property under the ditch.
yes. Yeah,
That's what I was asking.
okay,
Sorry.
sorry.
So what they have is a prescriptive easement across your property. Usually it's 15 feet. I'm on the lake ditch board,
Mhm.
not the steamboat.
Yeah.
But I've just had to learn these things over the last decade or so, so. Okay, and one thing to be careful of, and I don't know, is the low side. Is the bank higher on where you're building or lower?
Where we're higher, where we are building it is higher, actually, we had a neighbor call me on Friday just to go over how right here, there is prone to flooding. So we need to raise up the
Yes.
sides,
What do you need to do?
raise up the levee, not levee, that's the wrong word, but
Yeah, raise up the side.
There's an embankment? maybe?
yes, raise up the embankment, yes.
And, it's not your responsibility though, yes, or
Yes,
it is?
I need to get their approval first before I start.
Well, the reason I'm asking is that we have had issues in Ward 2 on other ditches. Where when people built next to it, the flow of the water was towards the house.
Yeah,
And they ended up having, when the floods do come, the ditches overtop. And a variety of places, and it ends up overtopping towards the house or into the ground, soaking the ground around the house. So some people that build their house, and it looks pretty close to me here, but too close to the ditch, the water can seep, and that's why I'm asking, will your house be higher than the ditch or lower?
it will be higher.
It is higher.
Like by 5 feet, 10 feet,
I'd say 5 feet
really?
off the elevation, yeah. And then based off the previous years that we flooded, it seems like it comes down off this corner and runs across the front yard and then down to the neighbor's house.
Oh, so it does go that way.
Yeah, it
It goes
flows
out
with
and out.
the topography.
Well, I would be super careful. You may need, has anyone talked to you about like a French drain or anything, or something that's between you and the ditch to make sure the water doesn't get to your house?
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Ask your engineer about that. They've had to put them in after the fact, in a lot of houses, to prevent, even my neighbor is a little downhill. I have water rights off the ditch, the lake ditch. Here's the ditch, here's my neighbor, here's me. And I have a pipe that goes across his yard to my yard. Well, because his house is slightly downhill, the water seeps through the bank, not over the bank, but through the bank and floods his basement.
Okay.
So what I'm asking here is, I don't know, even though it may not overtop there, it may flood through the side wall of the ditch, assuming it's dirt, not concrete. And you would want to be super careful, and I guess I'm just wondering, how much of a setback do you have from the edge?
We have a 56-foot setback
Oh.
near Stemwall.
So really, the trail is on the north side of the ditch, not the south side. Now I understand.
Trails on our side, yeah.
I asked if it was on the south and you said yes, but it's really on the north side, on your side. And the ditch is, you're saying you own to the middle of the ditch maybe, or underneath the whole ditch. And that's why the wall on your side, I understand, you're gonna build the embankment on your side. of the
Yeah.
ditch, so it doesn't flood so much.
Most of the house are not my strong suit, but yes.
Okay, got you. I understand now.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That's something that you can find.
Other questions?
What do your neighbors say? Have you talked to them?
Yeah, we've met a few of the neighbors so far, and all of them seem, I wouldn't say necessarily happy, but they're excited for us. Happy was the wrong. But they are excited for us because we are gonna take care of that property. We know a few people who ride their bikes through the property to get to the ditch when it's just right around the corner to get to the entrance of the actual trail.
Yeah.
They cut
But-
through.
So they,
Yeah.
so they're,
Yeah,
so
they
there's,
just cut through.
so is
So
it,
they're not happy losing their pet there.
is it
Yeah.
fair to say that the concerns that you have fielded from your future neighbors are related to ditch and trail access as opposed to 15 versus 30 feet of setback.
That's
Is
the
that,
ditch trail Blackberry
is that right?
concerns.
That's what it's been.
Yeah.
So the neighbor that would be closest to that setback section, are they aware?
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked to her.
What, how far from the street or adjacent neighbors?
Like, how far is
So if
their
you go back
house
to the-
setback?
This neighbor? I do not know that information.
I have not walked with the tape measure, asked to measure that, but they definitely seem closer than 30 feet.
So
I know our direct off of Sioux Lane, their house is set back pretty far, and then this corner, up in Natalie Street, I almost target 20 feet off that road, and then with our neighbor right behind us, same thing, I say less than 20 feet, and same with this neighbor right here.
Do you have a HOA or CCNRs?
We
No
do not-
CCNRs?
We have no HOA when we bought the property, we were not given any CCNR information. If you have a resource that you can find that,
You down in that area, I'm very close to you guys.
okay,
And they don't.
Beautiful.
thank you.
We don't, I live not too far. We have no HOA, but we do have CCNRs. And they guide setbacks, guide size of house, guide size of outbuildings, all of those.
Do you have like a aerial view map or anything to have an idea of what that actually looks like on the ground? I think there you go.
if you look at the neighbors,
Yeah,
they're, if you look at,
This gentleman right here is rather close.
that view looks probably not.
yeah, the other, the one across the street on the corner, that's a tree right there, so a tree's probably,
20 feet.
yeah. I would say, tape measuring it or anything, but you're not gonna be the first one under 30 feet.
No.
No. But that, point where you are putting your driveway.
Driveway should
on
be
that.
right about here where the pre-existing easement was.
So that when your house wraps around, how far you can be from their driveway? Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, the distance between,
Yeah, the person behind you. Like your
Maybe
house,
go back to that other one.
So,
I would argue 20 feet, 25 feet.
This one, this good to show it. How about from the corner of their house, or how far is?
that's kind of what I'm wondering, where their driveway comes in, your neighbors, where their driveway comes in.
And that tree is their
house. And you have the red dot, so your house is set on there.
yeah, the setback will be approximately like right there. That would be where the variation 17.9 feet would be versus the.
Right after their driveway.
So yeah, about there.
And you've talked to them about that? Those neighbors?
We have not, there is an existing retaining wall that we will probably just. build that.
Well, that almost sounds like you're just gonna be like right on top of the driveway.
So,
The corner of the house.
Yeah.
Walking out the plot would be about right here, so. So you still got another 20 feet to even the retaining wall that she has built forward right there. And then this is another good picture to see that, where the house will be located is above the ditch behind these bushes.
and you can see at the corner where the mailbox is, so that's. Approximately where the.
That right about here.
Yeah.
Start of the corner of our house will be. And then run. Parallel to the property line.
Yeah, is there any more questions from the board?
Just one, I was just curious about all the grading you did. Did you like start working on the site and then realize you needed a setback, or was that just sort of?
When we had the water company come in to actually connect us to Tom Long,
Uh-huh.
they pushed all that. dirt.
We all did that, okay.
Yeah,
I
that
got
was
you.
all,
That was
all
the
that.
water connection, okay.
yeah, all we did was clear brush on the property. We didn't want to even mess with touching dirt until we actually got.
Yeah, I guess.
Any other questions from the board? Any public comment? Anybody online?
But I think we have some in person.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Not seeing anyone online.
Okay, did you get public comment cards?
Yes, for other items.
Okay. All right. I think that wraps up this one. Thank you very much for coming and
Thank you.
presenting. Thank you for hanging out with us till almost 7:30.
Yeah, appreciate you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, now that brings us back to A6.
And just coming attractions, we would have done this during my report, but I want to make sure that our new members introduce themselves. We're gonna do it at the end instead of the very beginning, because they both weren't here right at the beginning, so.
No, I plan on
Good.
harassing people.
Thank you, Chair, staff liaison, Kelly Shek for the record, no training tonight, just some reminders. For members of the public and members of the board, Reno directs the city's emergency service center. Oh, sorry, the Reno directs the city's non-emergency service center. Give them a call or submit a service request online. I also want to remind everyone about the city's newsletters. We have a Ward 2 newsletters for city council and planning commission agendas, as well as planning projects that come in every 2 weeks. And the city's Reno report, which provides a snapshot of the latest Reno news from city manager Jackie Bryant. You can find those newsletters online at Reno.gov, navigate to services, then sign up for newsletters. If our new board members would like to take this opportunity, I just have a slide here to welcome them. If you both want to take the opportunity to introduce yourselves, please feel free to do so now. Floor is yours.
Sure. I'm Vanessa Appel. I've been in Reno since 2012. I live up on Manzanita and very excited to be on the board.
But could you say a little more, like what made you want to be part of this?
Oh, sure. So I'm trying to get more involved in my community. Both my kids are in school now, so a little bit more spend time. I'm retired, so hoping to get a bit more involved in the community, and I feel that you can best do that when you're knowledgeable about what's going on.
Well, thank you for that.
My name is Olivia Gil Guevara. I have been in Reno for about 3 years now, originally from San Diego, California. I lived in Chicago for 10 years. I've always been very involved in my community, whether just a variety of different community engagements, do nonprofit work. Now I work at the Grand Sierra Resort. I oversee business travel and local business development. So I do a lot of networking in the local community. Do a lot of work with the Chamber of Commerce. I work a lot with the University of Nevada, Reno. I'm part of the Latino Stakeholders Council, which is nonpartisan, but we engage a lot of community service. So I recently moved to a home. I'm renting a home that is off of like Moana and Plum. It's on Pluma. It's right by the tennis center. So if the ball's popping all day long, I just like it. Yes, it's lovely. I could walk here, but I didn't. But I just wanted to be more involved with the community, and when I saw the opportunity to apply for the board, I did it. Naomi contacted me, and here I am. So I'm really happy to be here and participate and help in any way that I can.
Well, not our neighbors, I think.
Are we?
Yeah.
Well, question. What's that area called in between the homes? Is that an easement? Like, looks like an alleyway, but there's a bunch of bushes growing behind where I live. Weeds. It looks like, when you talked about fire, I thought, well, that could catch fire.
Sure.
But who's responsible for that, the homeowners or the city?
Depends, like you can look up whose land it's on first,
Okay.
and then go from there.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
They have pretty good GIS maps, on the Washington County website that shows property ownership. So that nature, so you'll at least be able to answer the question, who owns it?
Okay, the middle, yeah, it's weird. I've never seen anything like that. All right, that's all. It's on keeping on.
The 2 cents on what Callie said, I can say I've used the Reno Direct for graffiti twice. And each time they're out in a couple of days, taking care of what has been recorded, so
They have a goal
they do a
of
good job. with that.
getting rid of graffiti within 48 hours,
Wow.
often 24 hours.
I've been really impressed since I moved here, how quick it goes away.
Yeah,
They do a good job. Report it, they respond to that.
I lived in areas where it's completely neglected. It's crazy. That's wonderful.
All right, some development updates. At our May meeting, we heard a request for a major deviation to reduce the side yard setback from 5 feet to 2.5 feet. That was at 935 Manzanita.
Oh, yeah.
To allow for an existing carport to be modified and brought to code compliance. So this was presented to us in May, initially heard at the planning commission in June, then continued to a later meeting and was approved with modified conditions by the planning commission on the August 5th meeting. And then our project from last month, the Lighthouse Sierra SPD, will be heard at the planning commission tomorrow night. This is a request for a zoning map amendment for marsh lot residential to specific plan district.
it's that one right on Talbot.
Yeah. One we were excited about.
A
lot of questions.
I talked to one of the people that owned, sold that lot to these people and told them, these people were in the NAB the other day and she just started crying. She just started crying. And so
Was that?
she was so happy because she's like, how did it go? And I said, well, it was a very supportive
Yeah,
situation. And at least, phase one at the NAB, that's all this is, phase one. It was very good, very supportive. And, but she cried and she told the story of what it was like in the room. They got a whole bunch of offers on the lot. They picked the best one. They picked these guys. They got together with a family of 5. And they picked this one. And so she was really touched.
wow.
So it was pretty great.
And I have a question about the first,
guys. One.
the Manzanita side, why was it continued?
I think if I remember the conversation correctly, there were just a lot of questions that the applicant answered.
We had not we, but the board
Same thing
had a
here.
lot of questions here.
Is that?
The NAB. You were at the meeting and
They answer questions even more poorly than they did here.
oh,
That was
really?
impossible.
It's hard to say.
That's good, Zach Fox did.
And,
Online, yeah.
and, I brought up the fact that they actually have other structures.
Right,
What about the lot coverage issue?
right.
And so the planning commission was going to deny it,
Oh, really?
until they just couldn't support it. So they said, would you like to go away and come back?
Okay,
And see if you can come back with a different story. And after that, I spoke with Mike Rayleigh and I said, why do these things, because Jeff Foster says, okay, well, we do that when it comes to the building permit stage. That's when we look at lot coverage. I said, why are you wasting everybody's time?
Yeah.
Because I just did it in like 20 minutes and I could tell they're gonna exceed their lot coverage, so they can't get this thing that they want to build.
anyway,
Anyway, so that's why they bailed on it. And then, they changed some things. And so when it came back, the discussion in the staff report is that the applicant has been informed that to do this, one of the other structures has to come.
oh, wow.
To compensate for
Because
that.
wasn't this like they wanted to build a second, was this the one with the second and the ADU and the
No,
garage? Oh, that was,
they wanted to move that carport. They got
I
a
remember it. Yeah, okay,
compliance problem,
yeah, okay,
so.
interesting.
This guy and his dad built the carport, I'm pretty sure.
They had no idea they had to get any permits.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who actually owned the property.
Yeah.
It was not good.
Oh, yeah, you weren't here.
Yeah, so-
They weren't answering the question.
I was-
Right, they were seemingly were trying to hide something.
It just came across that.
Oh, I think they had no idea what they were doing,
Both are.
like, no idea.
They
Both
were
we
trying
put the
to
hammer down.
I think they understand the rules.
Okay,
Actually,
well, all, so this feedback is great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yes.
Very welcome, Mom.
Appreciate the time to do that.
Well, it's really good to know what happened after. you left
absolutely.
and what other people thought, and did they confirm kind of your uneasy feeling? Did they just, did they read your
Oh,
report?
yes, they do.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
They do.
Is anyone else planning to go tomorrow?
What's
The
that?
Lighthouse?
I was wondering. Yeah.
What time is it?
6 p.m.
It's at 6 p.m. and I think they're the only ones on the
We're
agenda.
gonna have that.
Okay, yeah.
It's, you know,
Yeah,
So-
yeah, I was thinking about it.
I'm going.
I'm thinking about it.
You're thinking about it, you're
Yeah.
thinking about it. Okay, cool.
That should be useful. That one up now, and you cry.
And one of the things we talked about this, at least to give a report and here's what we heard in the NAP.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna go in that capacity. I do that, usually it'll be on Zoom because I'll go again, but this one. Yeah, this lady's crying, so I'm like, yeah, come on. Put a little more energy, guys.
Okay, speaking of your project review worksheets, the project we heard tonight is a tentative planning commission date of September 2nd. So if you can turn in your worksheets by Monday, in person, via PDF or the form, please do that so we can make sure that is included in the public record. Planning commission can see it. And then Bill, thank you for bringing up the board officer comment. Just making sure our chair, vice chair, or secretary are providing those, for all projects. And then that's all I have. Like I said, the planning commission meeting is tomorrow. There's a council meeting next Wednesday at 10. And the next scheduled board 2 now meeting is on September 15th. I can answer any questions if anyone has any.
Can I just ask a individual question? I'm pretty new to this too. So on that last one, when they're looking for the setback reduction, I'm not like theoretically opposed to it because it's a big constraint, but as an architect, I looked at the floor plan and it didn't look like they attempted at any measure of trying to actually design the house to the lot. I think they found the house, plopped it on the lot, and it didn't fit, and they're asking for an exception. I don't know that I specifically care that much on this one, make a point about it, but to what extent is it on us to kind of push them and say, why don't you adjust, you know, what have you done?
You absolutely can do that, and that's why you all come,
Yeah.
that's why you all come from different fields. And different perspectives, different outlooks, different living experiences, whether renting, owning, designing, moving, that's why you're here. And your input's very valuable, and you can even reach out to the people after. Okay, you can talk to them before, like I did. I'm trying to give a warning about living near a ditch, which looks fun, but comes with a whole host of problems that people don't think about. So overtopping, flooding, water infiltration, people trespassing, picking berries, all the things, dogs running across your property.
Regularly.
What's that?
Comes through our ditch.
The bear?
Yeah.
And so
Bears.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we have bear prints on our fence where it
Wow.
trigger gate down, it comes
Well,
through our ditch.
And I should have, you reminded me of something. So I started a new project last week to acquire bear resistant trash cans for people. You may have seen on the news.
Yeah.
So I took my council money, $10,000, and I'm paying the difference between the regular trash can and a bear can. So it's a very small amount of money. It's only $6. If you have a big trash can, 96, it's only $6. But if you have a small trash can, it's about $20. And I'm paying for it for a year. We could pay for about 120. And this is kind of unbelievable. People have told me I do have my finger on the pulse. Well, I guess I did this time. Because we sent out a news release one night. The news picked it up and put it on their news. And the next day was media day. And I had like 5 networks and radio stations and all come and interview me. We did the interview in Horseman's Park because it's near one of the ditches. And they do, to your point, travel along the 3 ditches, also along Mount Rose Highway. They're all either west of 395 or south of I-8. Well, as soon as I arrived for the media interview, the staff tell me all of the trash cans have been reserved
Wow.
the night before I even announced the program. So I'm now looking for more contributions. So I reached out to NDOW, the Department of Wildlife, to say, do you have any money at all? I'm doing it in partnership with them, but I'm paying for it all. They go, well, we have a pretty wealthy donor who cares about bears. Let me ask. So I said, ask them to match my 10,000, and my 10,000 is your 10,000. We have about 20 grand per council member to work on special projects. Most of mine have been new starts, the tree initiative, the hazardous waste, electrical waste pickups, bears, and other similar things. I don't usually send it to my favorite charity, so to speak, but you are allowed to, but I generally don't. So I just wanted to say, apparently this is a pressing issue. We did media about it. So I'm gonna buy one myself. You know, you rent them. It's not a buy. Some you can buy them, but you know, that's a bunch of money. It's just a $6 difference. So I have had a bear at my house, which again, is only 2 blocks from here. A bear in 3 cups in a tree. They took out my honey hives. And I rebuilt those with electric fence around them, and then went for my 35 fruit tree orchard. And also for the giant blackberries, which is probably at least equal to this room. That's how many blackberries they have, at least equal.
You got a Costco for them.
We do. We have a Costco. And so the idea is that we do pick up our fruit. I now have put my beehives behind electric fence. I can't do anything about the blackberries. But I'm doing my bit, and I wanted others to know about this issue, and here's one more tidbit for you. Anybody know how many, or would you guess how many bears are in Nevada? Any sense?
A whole bunch.
Well, what is a whole bunch?
I have no idea.
15,000.
There you go.
800.
Oh.
Okay. 700 of those are right here.
Oh, wow.
Between Lake Tahoe,
Oh, yeah.
Mount Rose Wilderness.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, they're out in Jarvidge Wilderness. No, I thought they're out in some of the higher mountain range. No, they're pretty much all here.
There were
That
two.
is-
My neighbor's great about it.
It's shocking.
And 500.
With our climate change, they're not hibernating.
They don't hibernate.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
Or if they are hibernating, you know, it's rich pickings around here. And so they're coming down. And so what happens is if a bear becomes habituated to the garbage, they become a nuisance bear. And then before you know it, they're either being relocated or euthanized. And so that's why you'll hear like the Bear League at Lake Tahoe is like, oh, don't call NDOW, you know, they'll kill the bear. But they tell me that is not their goal whatsoever. It's prevention. And they also have 2 dogs, well, one now, that are Karelian bear dogs, and they are trained to haze bears, get them not liking it down here. So they don't use tasers, but they do use these dogs.
Is it, the bear cans, can we request them? from
What's
waste-
that?
Can we request the bear cans from waste management?
Yes. I encourage all of you, if you live anywhere around here, to do it. I'm doing it, and I've started this program, so I should have announced it much earlier.
I was gonna do it at board reports if you bring it up, because it's the number one topic of conversation with my neighbors right now is. Cause we're in a little cul-de-sac, probably 6 houses, everybody's trash got hit one week, you know, like by a single bear, yeah, it just went, knocked everyone's cans over, it was a mess, and then the following week, same thing happened a few streets down, so it's been bad,
Well,
like,
that's not just
yeah.
Trash, they vomit.
yeah. Hoops,
Food,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then- Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we don't want them with people. And
Yeah.
that's why we also don't want to build too high up into the wilderness.
Right.
And we want them up there, us down here, and we want to discourage them. They have a big problem, Tahoe, right? You hear about it.
oh, yeah.
But we haven't heard a lot about it here. But these folks at NDOW called me, it's not that it was my brilliant idea. About 6 months ago, I had given testimony about coyote killing contest. They saw me there, they said, we know no Reno council members, we didn't know where to start. We said, oh, there she is. They called me. And they didn't know I've handled almost every animal thing for the last 12 years at the city council. From closing out puppy shops in Reno, dealing with the wild horses, doing the no coyote killing contest, doing bees. Now it's bears. I mean, so it's been part of my portfolio. They didn't know. They also didn't know that my ward is the one where all the bears are. They hit a jackpot, I guess, when they called me. I'm like, oh my gosh. So, and of course, I was immediately drawn, what can I do to help them? So I proposed this idea, they liked it, and now it's obviously hitting a nerve, so thank you.
So the short answer to your question, choose the form.
Make a suggestion.
And because they do read it, the person who's chair previously is now on the commission. One of the things he was always about was how do we get good feedback from the NAB into the planning commission? So I know at least the person there does care, look at it.
I could, actually read the stuff.
So,
So which is very.
so they'll, at least someone will read it and it'll become a discussion thing like, hey, you know, if you see something that was missed in conversation earlier with the applicant, you know, we said my favorite thing about that is it's informal and kind of casual. So you had to call them later and say, hey, did you think about X, Y, Z or whatever? That's okay. But also to use this form to communicate that to the planning commission, particularly if you think there's something that they need to be aware of.
And you know what, something else about this, so years ago, I served on the Ward 2 now. And I was put on here by my council member. This was like the 2012, 2013 timeframe. Sharon Zandra was my predecessor. I thought, well, will she appoint me? And I didn't know, right? But she did. And what's interesting is now we have a NAB member running for the state assembly. He's online. And then we have our NAB member that I nominated and was accepted to be on the planning commission. So, I mean, things happen. This is a very good place to kind of, like several of you said, learn about what's going on in the community, get more involved, use it as a launching pad potentially for anything. You know, it could be election, it could be appointment, it could be who knows what, you know? So, yeah.
Back to Kelly.
I was just gonna say, Danielle, if you have broader kind of process procedural questions for review of these, we're supposed to have Assistant Director Angela Cruz coming in the next couple months to talk to us about development. So that's another great kind of avenue to just see how these projects move through. But I know on that one specifically, on the last slide, if you go on Reno.gov/meetings, find this meeting, look at the attachment to that item, the planner's contact information is there as well.
Yeah.
So if you want to reach out, I think it's Jeff Foster, you can reach out to him and kind of see what the process is.
And I just thought of another NAB member that I served with, went on to serve on the Urban Forestry Commission where she was like the chair for 10 years.
Wow.
You know, so what I'm saying, I mean, just a lot of different fingers, different options.
That's all I have to be updated.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Where is it? Take us.
Isn't there training though too, or you guys having a
Online.
periodic?
Yeah, we
Tell us
are
about that.
planning an annual board member training. We usually do a kind of a NAB specific hour or whatever. It's like we did one last September, I think. And we're looking at timing and how that works, but you all receive a invite.
And then do you want to mention this?
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman Dewar. You all should have a NAB member handbook. We spent some time working on as the most recent updates of the most recent resolutions. Hopefully you find that very comprehensive. If you have any questions about it, just let us know, but I hope it's a very useful resource.
Thank you. It's pretty.
Thank you.
You're the first one to get it. None of our other board members other
Thank
than
you.
NAB.
Yes, thank
That's
you.
also special.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's really good.
And I wanted to get your feedback. What did you think of our police discussion?
I appreciated it. I liked it. I still want the next, last one.
Okay, I like that.
I don't think there was much actionable items that can come out of it. It was nice that they try to be specific about our ward. But I don't feel like it left with knowing like what they're doing about those things.
That's good. So that's good
I was
feedback.
trying to think of a good way to say that. We used to get like the crime stats in your ward. I thought they were gonna.
Actual numbers.
Actual
Yeah.
numbers, that's on that where the,
I don't think they have that anymore.
I don't think they're collecting it like that anymore according to Chief Nance. That's why it kind of got cut off. And she,
That was her official excuse. But
Yeah, but like
Whatever.
almost
Anyway,
specific
that was-
to
that's
our
a good
ward.
story.
Like, here are the problems. This is the top 5 issues, but
right.
what are you doing to do something?
It's fine. Good, because they could say, and then they would discuss with us, well, you know, you get 3 or 4 of these categories in one dot, so it's not really 100% representative because it overstates the problem, because 4 things have whatever one incident kind of thing. But it would sort of show you where it is. they might get there. I'm just trying to introduce themselves to us and like, okay, we had major trust issues with our police in the last year since we ended up with bad apples, and so there's so much of that. I think they're just trying to like make human contact right now, and they will come to the what is not actually will thing.
Yeah.
And
Something I would have liked, so the police chief says he'll be here next month. So this would be a good time to think about giving him this feedback. So that he can improve the report and they want to know what you're interested in. And the other thing I think we should ask him about, which I assume none of you know about. Years ago, the police department put together an app called My RPD. And it's like an app to know instant real-time data about, and it has maps about what's going on in the Reno police. And well, I'm checking it out. I have it downloaded. Again, it's called My RPD. I think the next meeting, we should ask them, is this still active? Like, and it showed you even where sex offenders were. It showed maps of where the crimes occurred. MyRPD.com.
I thought that was inactive.
You may have a connection problem or the data may be temporarily unavailable. So I'm retrying.
Oh, we.
That's your answer.
So I'm guessing this has been discontinued, but I think it's worth, it was a good attempt. They worked really hard for years to produce this special app so that you could access in real time data. I mean, I have to call up the one, with missing persons, like you go missing person, it would list who's missing. I mean, I was like, wow, we wouldn't know how to get any of this. I mean, my life, there was about registering property, crime prevention, reporting stuff. You could file a report right here. Complaints or compliments, police, chief's update, latest news, meet the staff, surveys.
But is it dead or not?
I don't know yet. Here's some statistics. I'm pulling it up. I haven't looked at it in a couple of years. So I'm assuming it's been discontinued,
I
but
think it is, because I tried to get it not too, like a year or so ago,
yeah,
and I got that same thing.
I think we should ask them if they plan to, revitalize it, do something with it. I thought it was a good idea at the time, but obviously, here we go. Right?
I think after that presentation, they didn't leave us with a, actionable method to give feedback after this.
Okay.
There's no piece of paper, there's no website, there's no email address or whatever,
Okay.
like specific to things like.
Can you remember some of this for next time, or do you wanna, I have
It'd be very, something else.
the email.
Yeah,
Isn't Sean
Where?
Garlick's?
it was on the last slide.
Yeah, Garlock,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Download them. They're in the materials.
I could, I never find them in the
I
material.
have a hard time,
Would you like to go through the materials that are
I'll
online?
put them on.
And you share my screens?
Yeah,
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 yeah.
I
There was no email. It was just a-
Yes.
Last time I tried to find the materials and I found the link, but then the little bit of the line produced nothing.
Phone
So
number.
it's president.
But I don't know if that's a browser
Yeah.
issue.
Wait, are you-
Browser
To
specific.
get to where? To find this project?
Find the
Slide
material.
files
To download.
Yeah, to download the
So you
material.
gotta from Excel and sometimes.
Yeah, go to the HTML agenda and then click the item and it'll download it.
I tried that, and I.
Is this the fire versus the drone?
Yeah, I just do it, but I've tried my phone, I've tried my computer.
Okay.
I've tried my laptop.
So here we go.
Browser issues.
Reno.gov/meetings, click on the HTML agenda. Okay. Zoom link,
Right,
and then anything that has a paper
Right.
means that something is attached. So for RPD, for example, this was just added today. So if you.
Okay, okay.
So yeah, I was waiting till
Check
the
the
day.
day of.
I do too, but.
If you're not
I
seeing
know it's somewhere.
anything, just
Yeah,
let me know.
Okay,
And
so
same
thank
for
you, yeah.
development, the development includes this, it's not an actual staff report, it just includes the description. But it also includes the planner information, this is a link to.
like,
The Acela page.
Yes, that's not.
So that wasn't obviously that's the link, I got that far, but.
Yes, we're
I
trying to
thought
fix
it
the
was
way
link.
that appears. But this is where you find attachments related. to
I think I
projects.
just went too early today.
Yeah, the staff report will always be on there, but the presentation might not be loaded until right before the meeting.
Okay.
But that's where everything will be there.
Did you go too fast? Do you want
Everything
to
is
see
there.
this again?
Keep in mind also those Excel links to get into the attachment tab, you can't do it on a phone.
doesn't load correctly.
No,
I know,
that's,
You have a tablet or computer.
Stella's like.
I figured that one out.
For what it's worth, it doesn't work with my
Remember when the
computer.
internet came out? Stella came out.
That's, yeah. It works.
There's an entire section of Stella that has no purpose whatsoever.
That has what?
No purpose whatsoever. If you go up to the, if you go to the like one NV or whatever and log in. It's like the my projects or whatever, It's like literally no purpose to it.
Yeah.
So you needed to know to go to attachments, is that it?
Or it did click on that, but
Yeah,
that
link
was a
doesn't
link.
Look quite right, we're trying to. fix
Yeah.
How that appears, yeah.
The text is a link and it looks like text.
And I tried to click on the paperclip, nothing happened, then I realized, click on it. Yeah, I figured that out, but I didn't get it from the
Yeah.
police.
Yeah, there wasn't anything.
It's-
attached to
And
my
then
site.
this RSVPing is not like a calendar event, so I just replied to your email.
There is a calendar event, sometimes the way that they're set up, it just gets very weird, so calendar event, email me, whatever
Either
one
one
works.
And she will let me know by Thursday for the meeting if there's, if you said no, or if you've not replied. So if you've not replied, I'll be calling you or emailing you. So I have to ensure we have a quorum.
When we elected Michael as vice chair the last meeting, I
Yeah.
was there for that.
Yeah.
Okay, I just saw him, yeah, roster.
Yeah. Okay, I think that wraps up staff liaison.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Board commission reports announcements, so D. I have at least one, I have two, but they covered one, and it is kind of related to the police report today. There is a community thing, it's a diversion program for folks that are having mental health crisis, and it's a diversion program, so instead of somebody calling 911 and calling police when somebody is having a mental health crisis, these people will come. They're trained. They all live here. They're all part of Reno, have deep roots here. They are in the process of writing grants and getting some funding and things like that. I know that they've talked to our city council or to our city manager, Jackie, and to our new chief to help get some funding through the city as well. This one's important to me because somebody in my house had a mental health crisis and got to the point where we had to call 911. And if you've ever been in that situation where somebody's having a mental health crisis, in our situation, we really lucked out. We had two good officers. The situation de-escalated and done okay. But it was literally one of those conversations like, what's worse, what's happening now, or having people with guns and badges show up? What's going to happen? As opposed to these people. And it's called building lasting outcomes and community care, so block. So building lasting outcomes with community care. I know that the organizers of this project, they're very involved. You know, they really love this place. It is their home and they're doing real training with it. They've already talked to Jack Bryant, they've already talked to our police chief. So it's something that a diversion program where our cops can worry about human trafficking instead of somebody just having a mental health crisis. This is a step in the right direction. So
They could do that a couple of my posts.
sorry,
It's different from the most.
it's different from that. Yeah. Yes.
Social workers or psychologists.
So they are trained to deal with people who are having a mental health moment to de-escalate. The specific example is the Reno police that I was related to was the Reno police killed a guy on Old Avenue a couple months ago. And one of the ladies who's when we organized that, Reno police released the whole video of it. Idea of transparency. She watched it and she's like, "No, Bill, here's how you do it." So this guy would have been alive today if one of my people had been there to do this. And part of that's like, yeah, I'm sure quarterback type stuff, but there's also some real actual stuff there. Like this dude would still be alive. Yes, he screwed up both Avenue. Yes, he should get in some trouble, but he should also still be probably. He is having a mental health crisis.
So I don't get that forward into action.
So one of the bets, what the ask is, get a hold of our city manager, Jack Bryant, let her know, hey, This kind of thing sounds like it might be interesting. It's called the Building Lasting Outcomes with Community Care. Jackie Bryan's familiar with it, she knows what it is, but if she gets one or two patients like,
And
hey, we heard about this.
outcomes with community care.
Yes. And if you want more information about it, you guys can all find my contact info and I'll send you the presentation. She sent me like a 25-page PDF. Want to know more about it, I'll send that to you. I'll give you her phone number, email. Talk to her and get more direct information.
Bill, if you want to send it to me, I can add it to the meeting.
Okay, all right, appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll just say, it's interesting what you brought up because I had an experience too, and it was my father with dementia. And the amount what my father has passed now, but he had really severe dementia. He's in his house, and we couldn't get him out. And the amount of resources, like the police were amazing, but we should not have had to use that many police, take that many police offline. We had to use paramedics. The amount of resources that were required, and then got connected to this most team. I think it took four days in a row of police, paramedics, and all the law issues around somebody's own rights, even though we know that he's lost his mind, they can't tell them you have to have power of attorney and all this sort of stuff. And the most team came in and they were very organized and they helped us and it really changed it. So like just even knowing, like it took us 4 days of tripping the wires, pulling too many resources away from somebody else, probably really didn't place in the same moment.
Yeah.
So I think it's somehow getting that expanded or getting the word out.
To give some support to it. So like I said, they already have some grants they have coming from other places, but if you give some resources out of the city.
Yeah.
So what we need to do, lobby the city to take people seriously, support them, and get them engaged.
Like, hey, we heard about this, talk about it, it seems like it's done.
Throw a little money at them and.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
the officers and stuff.
Yep.
That was one thing I wanted to ask you about, so much talk about having officers not be first responders for mental health crisis, there should be psychologists or.
Well,
Or even
people who are
trying
trying
to de-escalate.
yeah, and it,
Yeah, as opposed to the officers, I didn't get a chance to ask that question, but that is something.
and so you take something like that, the last council meeting I went to, police chief was there and talked about operations we did with human trafficking associated with some massage parlors and stuff like that. And yes, please do that. And, the
Send
situation,
those people to my
Yeah.
house.
Yeah, but- yeah.
I've got a couple of people in my condo building that we kind of keep an eye on because
Yeah.
they've got one's got some severe mental health issues.
So let's get the cops on the bad stuff.
Yeah.
And this mental health stuff, let's get some other folks who have a different skill set, because I want my officers showing up.
Yeah, they sat there and talked about the lack of quantity of officers.
Right.
I can show you a picture of 9 first responders trying to deal with my 93-year-old father.
Yeah.
Why are there 2 cops, firefighters, paramedics
Right.
to solve this problem right now?
Seems like we have the wrong people here.
They did a great job, but, yeah.
We need more of that.
Yeah, and in my case, like I said, I was happy that, the situation resolved okay. There are lots and lots of situations where they don't resolve okay, because cops are people too. And they have a bad day. When I have a bad day at work, I end up with a pissed off customer or coworker. Cop has a bad day at work, it's different.
Yeah.
So, and they're people, so that's my announcement. Are there any other announcements? Okay. Public comment, we have closing public comment. Anybody online?
Closing public comment, if you're online, raise your hand.
I have another comment.
All right, great.
Sorry, it's the same one I made last time. We have to figure out what to do for Naomi's graduation.
Yep.
Maybe it's Naomi figuring out what to do for you.
If we can, I can post at my house.
Oh, an actual get together?
Yeah.
Like, what?
We have to have a party for you.
Okay,
Again,
one of that. I'd love to do a little socializing with y'all.
So-
Hey Donna, let's check, cause I have a community room too.
Oh, okay, cool. He's not like.
I think
We
that,
both live in Salisbury.
What's that?
Let's make the.
No, I love the idea, frankly. I mean, it never dawned on me, frankly.
Well, last month I brought it up as a future agenda item.
I see.
Discuss what we should do for Naomi's going away party.
The only ones not invited are the bear.
And then I just missed the future agenda item to, I've got a reminder out there, but.
Did I skip
the
it?
Agenda item.
Sounds very fun.
Yeah, it's under
That's very
the,
fun.
yeah, under D. We'll put her under D.
I could have everyone to my house or whatever.
Or it sounds like people had to offer.
We'll read,
Yeah, I'll
we'll chat.
I think that's a great idea.
bring it next month.
I think it's a
Kind
fabulous
of
idea.
big day. I mean, I was having a challenging day today. It started really early. And there were so many topics that I covered, lots and lots of people, lots of phone calls today. And,
Reality setting.
it is exactly, it's kind of setting in.
Yeah.
And it was very bittersweet. I even texted the mayor, said, I'm feeling a little teary today, you know? She's like, no, you're not allowed in November after. Okay, a lot of sympathy there.
Feel a little bit.
What's that?
Every single thing.
Yeah. We'll be alternating, backing each other up, you know, in terms of who has to be strong and what topic.
No, I think, in so many ways, there's a lot of big things that you've done. But there's so many little things, that just little things.
I know what you
People can hear. and-
Changing who gets noticed, one of the
Yeah.
first things I did, who gets noticed on a development project.
Yeah.
And there's more to be done.
So, we're lucky to have.
Oh, no. Well, now.
So now you're long.
I was feeling
day.
teary, I wasn't crying. Okay.
But now you're very long day.
Yeah.
Started out that way, it was worthwhile because.
Yeah.
Get to the end and we love you.
Oh,
There you go.
Okay, all right, I think that wraps up our public comment.
okay.
Okay, I get a motion to adjourn,
I move to adjourn.
second. All in
Names.
favor?
Nick Oliver.
Vanessa Motel second.
I
for
know.
the record.
The. Al.
You can spell it out.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
All those opposed?